This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Private Game Reserve, where we're sitting today on 28 degrees, 82 Fahrenheit. And welcome to everybody all over the world. Welcome to join our show this afternoon, where we're sitting with this beautiful giraffe feeding in this beautiful bush. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Private Game Reserve in Sabi indoor field. This afternoon, we're sitting on 28 degrees, 82 Fahrenheit. It's quite a little bit of a windy, but we're sitting here in this beautiful male giraffe. Looks like it. And I'm Andrew, my name, and I have Mpo on camera this afternoon. You can see his thumbs up. So we arrive in this position of this beautiful giraffe where he's now doing his well-known of a feeding right now, or browsing. So this is how we'll be interacting with you through questions, where you can send your question through hashtag WildEarth, @WildEarth or @FC. and kids questions at WildEarth.tv. This is how we'll be participating in this safari, your own safari live this afternoon. We want to hear from you. So we come to this very position here and found this giraffe feeding. And it's quite a unique way. I mean, you often normally, you hope to find them in a uphill, but they are not. Now they're in a downslope. So I'm gonna just see if he's gonna come out for us.
While we wait for the giraffe to come out, I'm just going to spend a little bit of time at this watering hole. Welcome to andBeyond and Ngala. And as you can see, Odie's got a couple of white-faced whistling ducks on the left-hand side. There's a little bit of activity. We thought with the heat of the day, this would be a great place to start. We're just having a good look around. But welcome to andBeyond and Ngala, and I'm Dan. Hi, everybody. And on the camera, we've got Odie this afternoon. And it's a really good place to start at a watering hole. There's a few hippos that are in the water. There's a few water bucks. But what initially got our attention here was a pair of European bee-eaters that were busy bathing and moving around on the water's edge. First time I've seen them this year. I've been hearing them the past couple of weeks, but they really are a beautiful bird. They seem to have moved off for now. But as you can see, a couple of hippos just going under. Couple more in the back there. There's a little island over there. There were a few waterbuck that were moving around on the right-hand side. And in fact, the other day we saw them hanging around on that island. That's a really good way for them to potentially get away from predators, run through the water, and obviously they're risking running past the hippos, but it's nice and safe for them on there. Yeah, we can still hear a couple of these European bee-eaters. I don't think we're going to be able to get them. It's a little bit tricky, particularly while they're flying quite high above us. They've just made an incredibly long journey down towards South Africa, just in time for our summer season, and they're coming here to breed as well. I wonder, let's spend a little bit more time here, wait for these waterbuck to maybe come towards the water. If not, I might go and check on that lioness and her 2 cubs at some point this afternoon if nothing comes down to the water to drink.
Look, sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. That is Djuma behind the camera. We have, and here we have a lovely sighting cheetah with the 2 cubs. In a lovely area, which is nice and beautiful open area, and at the moment she's just lying flat because she's been hunting to chase looks like some impala around the area, but for now she's just resting, getting bit more energy again. She might start again because it's quite a nice day for them to hunt. It's not a sunny day, it's overcasting day, which is good for when much wind, as you can see. Otherwise, they're just lying down. If you look at the way they're lying, you can see all of them facing opposite direction, which is very good for cheetah when it does that, because every time they have to check if it's any dangerous coming around to them. This is a nice open patch where they decided to spend the time for a little bit, and because could be anything come around like a leopard or lions or anything bigger than them, so they need to be able to spot that dangerous coming before they approach them. So, but you can see the way they're lying, they're actually kind of tired. They're actually tired. If you can see one of the cubs facing direct to us and fast asleep. Well, as you can see, they're just lying down like that, which is nice to having them a bit earlier. We might see some hunt later, but we'll just sit here and wait, because anything can happen anytime. As you can see, the way they are quite thin.
Back into this single bull giraffe, where you just now come to the slightly very open for us. I think I can able to recognize him by looking at his horn. It's kind of like a skew when they're grown up, but one is a lot thicker than the other one. So I think I've seen him a couple of times, a few different places. And sometimes they're kind of an animal, they're very hard to tell which one you're looking at, especially if there is a unique marking or identical in them. So he's moving now. This is actually pushed by the way force of the hungry that take place. This animal, they feed all day long. And for them, when they even sleep, or sometimes they go down, but when they do that, not in this kind of bushes. It's got to be enough and open space for them to be able to see distances. And that's all about the safety that counts. It looks like he's going to walk right close to us. Oh, it's all about, looking for foliage to feed on. You truly see the pattern. Beautiful as we're looking at the southern giraffe, the species. And he just visited that one of the acacia trees. It's amazing how he just avoids many of the trees and he just goes to that. Because this is their favorite. Trees for them to be able to feed on. Acacia trees around in these areas. It's a lot of them. And they go visit quite a lot of these. Sometimes you find these animals in a river just because of the specific plants they need to feed on in those rangeland systems. So it's kind of a single male right now. It happens that the other male is around or other members around. They're not territorial, or they don't have to be always in the same group. Can be separated or form group. For them, it's not a problem. So this is how we look at his lip, trying to catch up with the food just before late. So now when you look at these beautiful little trees, as I was saying, he just walked over or past very beautiful trees, but he visited that specific. And it's one of the acacia trees that's always around in this area. And they always find a lot of nutritions in these leaves as well. It's so much smaller leaves compared to most of the trees that occur around here. But when you take your time, look at his tongue, you're able to see how he's able to select what he needs into this thorny hook bush that he's feeding on right there. And the wind is picking it up. So that sometimes they may push by force of sense of smell of the bush. What is in front of them, always the flavor. This is what they choose, what they eat. Sometimes when there's wind, they can able to face the wind, and that way they're able to tell which trees are valuable for them to eat. Most of the trees are all beautiful, but some produce some of the chemical, which is a tannin, and that won't allow trees to be actually able to be fed by any of animal around, because then that kind of chemical turn trees to be sour, and then make that animals not to be very much interested to feed on those. Look at this beautiful tongue coming out of these animals. They're amazing. Sometimes the tongue can be anything but 40 inches long. So beautiful animal to see. Beautiful ears as well.
Well, it is a beautiful, beautiful afternoon, and so any animal in amongst the summer greenery with the blue sky and a few puffy clouds is going to be fantastic and the perfect way to start an afternoon safari. My name is Tristan. On camera, I've got Theo this afternoon, which is always nice to be with Theo. He's a wonderful human. And, well, we're going to try and see if we can find any signs of any of our spotty cats. None of them were seen this morning, so we're going to try and see if we can find them. And it's always a good way to start is by looking at their prey animals. Often in conditions like we've got this afternoon, which is much cooler than it has been over the course of the last few days, it's also a very strong wind that is blowing, and that really often plays into the hands of cats. And so you'll find sometimes, particularly leopard, they like to use these windy conditions to be fairly active and try and find food. And so it should be a good afternoon for things to be a little bit more active than they would have been at this time yesterday. Yesterday would have been a lot hotter at this stage, so things would have been a lot more lethargic. So, Daniel, impala horns, in terms of how long they can grow, well, it depends where you are. Our impalas here in South Africa don't grow very big at all in terms of the horn sizes. So here, a good horn size would probably be, I got to remember in centimeters, most of the time horn lengths are in inches, would be about 60 to 70 centimeters, if my maths is correct. Whereas in East Africa, some of those can get as much as sort of closer to 80 centimeters, much longer horns in East Africa. And that's probably due to the fact that in East Africa, well, particularly in the Mara, the impalas are not like here where they have a very defined mating season. There they're mating all year round, and you probably find they've adapted and evolved to have much bigger horn sets because they're fighting more regularly than what the impalas are here. These guys are really fighting for a very short period of the year. So, you know, that April, May, June, July, and a little bit in August, September. But other than that, it's not too much competition. Whereas the Mara ecosystem, the guys are going at it all the time. But their horns can get quite long. And what's deceptive with impala horns is that a lot of the time people see them and think, no, they can't get that long. But if you look at them from side on, you notice how there's that slight bend backwards, and then it turns up. Now, these are two young individuals, so these would have been born not this last breeding season, but the time before. So they're almost 2 years old now, so their horns are not quite the right shape. But in adult impalas, the horn actually starts to slope backwards before it tilts forward, and that actually means that the horn is quite long. If you measure with a piece of string and cross those horns, you start to see them being a lot longer than you would think. Anyway, we're going to leave these impalas to carry on play fighting as they are, and we're going to go try and see if we can find those things that hunt them. Sorry about that. It's what happened when in a bush. Sometimes things doesn't actually work well. Yeah, we're still here sitting with this beautiful giraffe, and we've been actually watching him. Now he just decided to show us his back. Can able to see. His ears are palely lighter compared to the rest of the body, as this is one of the follow me mechanism or follow me sign. Sometimes for them to able to use this sign of white from distances, they will be able to pick one another up. He's going to just smoothly march across this road in front of us. It's amazing. The long road this, look at that. But it actually creates beautiful color with these beautiful animals in this road, and hold a lot of this pattern he's got. It's probably gonna defecate as he goes. And the defecation is actually a big pellet. You would think of
maybe a big dropping would come out of that, but just like a round chocolate pellet would come out of that. So he just comes slowly to the open place here for us. Truly beautiful animals. So one of the big bull like this would be anything from 6 meters long, and a general lifespan is anything from 28, 30, 35 sometimes, and they carry on growing, but that's where they get into very much maturity. When they're not 6 meters, then they won't go to grow much longer than that. So sorry about that. You know, he was moving. I was trying to get a better view of him just before he disappeared. But it's so much of attract him here, so much attraction where this animal, they can switch place every now and then. And understanding that some other my members must be around, where you might actually try to see if you can able to hook up with them. We're going to take more time here just to see what he's doing for us.
Yeah, look at this cheetah now. They start getting mobile, and as you can see, the mother, she just went through to the thicket now, and the cubs are still following the mom. What we'll do, we're gonna come around just to make sure we don't disturb if there's anything into the thicket, because it could be anything like a Ngala or like a great darker into the small. It's just a small patch of the thicket here. While there's also like a nice pen system. As soon as we lose these cubs, Rodney, to answer your question, it's quite a big territory, because the female cheetah doesn't have really territory. They are home ranging. Wherever they are, they can be here. They can cover easily 2-3 thousand hectares in like two days. Because depending from the prey into the area, they don't really specialize the area for the female. Only the male can have like their own territory. The male cheetah, they can easily have like 3 to 4, 5 thousand hectares. So we're trying to stay with this cheetah now before we lose them, Rodney. I hope. Okay, guys, we're trying to come around, see if we can relocate again this cheetah, because we don't want to actually to lose their hunt. So let's come around and see.
All right. So we managed to follow him a little bit, this bull giraffe, and we found him beautiful now, and he can able to see. We get enough closer now. Look, such a beautiful nostrils, big eyelashes. So they are one of the animal when it comes to defend himself against the danger, where they're still a lot vulnerable, even they're so big, sometimes get killed by lions. Look at this, feeding on one of the sickle bush. So lion would take down giraffe like this, but it's a lot of work. It's got to be a lot of members of lions, and they're all capable of doing this. Maybe not for the first time. Otherwise, this animal will be able to kick, and that's how they defend themselves. Otherwise, the kick is so strong, sometimes can kill lions. So as you can able to see, his leg now is up, very much longer. Can't believe this animal can pick up speed about 50 kilometers an hour running. And you see them do that. Sometimes lion even give up. And of course, and they pick up speed, and it's all about survival. When it comes to the survival, somebody has to get away from the danger. So, and of course, for them to able to kick like this, able to do that when they are moving or fast or running, they easily, step on whatever it is in front of them and they're trying to defend themselves as they run. They're capable of doing that, or when standing still, they're able to defend themselves. Seeing a female trying to defend that little baby, and all she does is let the baby right close to her enough, and then trying to defend, kick both sides, whoever trying to get closer enough. Some area where there are a lot of hyena, of course, there's a trouble with these young giraffe. Get hunted by hyenas sometimes, or a group, or members of hyena, 7 or 18 hyena, trying to surround it, that animal, to take it down. And that's where sometimes, look at this, so beautiful. Just a beautiful lip.
Well, always nice to enjoy the tallest of our land mammals, particularly when, like I say, when they're surrounded by greenery, those coloration and kind of features of a giraffe really come out. Now, we left our impalas and we've slowly kind of come down towards the Mulawati area. We're kind of hugging the Mulawati at the moment, which is always a good thing to be doing when it's still fairly warm. I mean, it's not hot, but it's warm enough and the sun is out. And the reason why is that it forms such a perfect shaded area for a multitude of species. So as much as we are trying to see if we can find a spotted cat, it's a great place to find things like buffalo and elephants, and then all kinds of general game that are using those big shaded trees that grow along riverbeds to get out of the heat of the sun, as well as the fact that there is a lot of really tasty vegetation that grows there. And so it's a good place to start and to check around, and we're going to try and see if maybe, just maybe, there's any signs of Kalamba in this area. From a male leopard point of view, I doubt we'll have any signs today, and that's because most of the male leopards at the moment are to our west, in the kind of western side of, well, west of Djuma. So Tingana, Hukamuri, they're both that side at the moment. So Jessica, the reason why the animals aren't really bothered by us is that they've grown accustomed to us. So I don't know, Jessica, if you've ever owned a cat or a dog and gotten them from when they were very little. A lot of the time they can be a little bit kind of nervous of movement or of a lot of people or attention if they're very, very small. And so it's the same out here. A lot of the animals, their first instinct is obviously to hide, if in the case of something like a cub or a small animal, and to stay away from big noisy objects. But over time, the more that they're exposed to it and the more they realize that this vehicle and us as people talking in the vehicle are not hurting them, we're not killing them, we're not stealing food from them, and we try and do it as ethically as possible in that we don't disturb them. And they soon start to realize, okay, well, this is just something that is part of the landscape. It doesn't really do anything, and so we'll allow it fairly close. And that allows us then to view these animals without really disturbing them too much and changing their behavior drastically. Obviously, we would be very naive to think that there's no change at all from our presence. Our presence definitely brings about some change, but the idea is to do it as ethically as possible and to try and obviously stay and give the animals as much space. All right, on that note, we're going to try and see if we can find an animal so that we can show you guys exactly what we mean about being ethical.
Tristan, I couldn't agree more with you. We do have some form of impact around here, but we do try and keep it as minimal and be as neutral as possible. What we've got here is a great big elephant bull. Quite a big boy. And I don't know, you can see him kind of leaning up against that tree. It almost looks like he's sleeping and resting against that tree. And not much shade. The day has heated up quite a lot. I'm surprised he's not doing it in some form of a shade. But that's exactly what he is doing. He is resting and catching up on some sleep. Elephants need very little sleep. And a big elephant like him, for him to lie down, can actually put quite a lot of pressure onto his rib cage. So it will be much easier for him to lean up against a tree like that, or lean up against a termite mound rather than lying down. Quite interesting, a big elephant like himself, I mean, I'd probably estimate his weight at being between 5 and 6 tons, pushing up against that tree. If he really wanted, you see, I don't know, Odie, if you can see, there's that green foliage right at the top. Not that he's really after that, particularly, maybe it's a bit green now, but a few weeks ago, they would have been really seeking the bark of these marula trees. So him pushing up against there without even trying, he'd be able to push that tree right over and maybe feed on those fresh shoots at the top that have just come out the past couple of days. For now, it seems like he's just resting and catching up on some sleep that he might have missed out on. Interesting to see, I haven't heard or seen any other elephant bulls around, but you may often find with an big elephant bull like this, he doesn't seem to be in must, but he'll often have smaller, younger bulls that are often following around. He will essentially be teaching them how to behave, in an essence. Anthony, very good question. How often do elephants mate? So elephants don't necessarily have a mating season, and a big bull like this doesn't belong to a herd. He will move around on his own, and often he'll have those smaller bulls or younger bulls following around him. He'll come into a form where his testosterone will increase, and we call that state a form of must. And when he goes into must, his testosterone increases, and he is then actively seeking out females, and herds of elephants. The females all live in groups. He will then go into the herd, trying to see if there's an opportunity to mate. Now, because elephants aren't territorial, he may go through several herds in several weeks, looking for as many opportunities as he can to mate. So they do, a male like this might mate pretty often, several times in a few months maybe, but the females, they'll give birth after a 22-month gestation period, and then only start mating again maybe another 4 or 5 years after that. So a completely different story for females and for males. He may be the father of many young elephants. I don't know if you saw, there was a drongo, a fork-tailed drongo that flew into the top right of the tree there, Owen. I don't know if you can see him flying there. So that, oh, there it goes. So that fork-tailed drongo, he's flown in there with the hope that that elephant, as it's moving, disturbs the grass. And as the elephant disturbs the grass or the bushes, insects will fly off of that. And that fork-tailed drongo will swoop down and hawk those insects and fly straight back to that spot.
Beautiful. Drongos that do their best always follow the other animals for their own benefit. So this poor giraffe now is going to probably disappear into this wood. At least he stays slightly longer for us to be able to enjoy him. But he's not actually in a very move. It's so that, they have a lot of time. Sometimes they decide if there's a mission take place, this is when they have to get to somewhere. And understand that sometimes when it comes to look for a female, and he'll be doing that quite a lot. He'll be really looking to move and find a female. Sometimes you can see how well blend in this brushes there, you only see silhouette movement inside to that bush. So most of the time, animal with a spot pattern, it's all about their self-defense or mechanism, where they will be well blending. And those are white, which won't work for those animals out here, because it's a lot of dangerous animals such as lions. Most carnivores will focus on an easy target or whoever is visible for them to be able to hunt. Where a lot of time, you talk about even birds on the ground. These bay fowls, they're so well blend in. You got a bird of prey flying up above, trying to spot them. They play very difficult to be able to spot one of those things because they seem like grasses. Same to this animal we're looking at right now. If you look through this brush, you're hardly to pick up what is in a bush until you know. If I would know exactly what have moved into this bush, I would actually playing harder to be able to identify what this kind of movement is happening in there. So this is what they do their best for survival. So the spot pattern is all about being well blend in. Also create a beauty, also identical for the animal itself, but it's some reasons they have to be well blend in, hide it enough not to be visible for everybody from distances. Well, now it's collective of giraffe, it's called chain of giraffe. This is when they're moving, but the tower in a group, this is when they are static. Right. So since we still got a little bit of a visual of him, good afternoon, Jurassic Me. Welcome to your beautiful show this afternoon. You want to know how taller is the giraffe, young giraffe, probably mean after birth. And then, of course, can be anything slightly just a below meter or meter long or meter and a half. So somewhere around there. And this is the longer they get. I mean, when they just drop, probably anything from above a meter, but they develop quite fast in terms of growth. Once they come out of the mother's womb, they are very well developed and able to be active or move around very quickly. In 15-20 minutes, that animal will be able to look around. Moms are able to allocate the teats, able to drink milk from there. So that, of course, look, if you ever come across this birth of this animal happens, and that baby drop from that height, and then all the way down, and then when the baby drop down immediately, able to kick around, trying to balance up, stand up, and then all she does is just to turn around with that kind of happiness that the baby have birth or have come out, and mainly trying to eat after birth. Many of the animals does that, and then that will actually form very good match relationship with that young one, able to recognize its mother, and the mother able to recognize the young one as well.
We're still here with this big elephant bull. He hasn't moved on too much. I think he's really enjoying this period of rest. I don't know if you can see, we've got right in front of him. You see how his ears are flapping like that? He's actually positioned himself so that the wind can also be blowing behind his ears. And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in the past few hours, the temperature increasing like it has, would have gone and maybe thrown some sand or some water behind his ears. Now, it's a very unique and quite a special way that this elephant will keep itself cool, keep his ears open like that so the wind will get in behind. And the way he does that is he's got a very intricate and detailed vein network behind his ears. Now, with the blood that pumps through those veins, if he can keep the air and the water and those ears cool, and the blood pumping through there and cooling the blood down, the elephant will then pump that cooler blood throughout its body, cooling it down on a warm day like this. He may, in fact, I'm really hoping he does, just with the direction that he's looking, and he is showing the odd little sign of movement, that he does walk towards us, and maybe there's water not too far away. We could maybe even follow him to some water, in which case, watching a big elephant like this on a hot day, he might even treat himself to a bit of a swim. That would be quite a special sighting. Even seeing a big elephant like this around is truly special. I really hope he shows us the size of those tusks. You can see the size of his head, even against that tree. It's just immense. And as I said earlier, I don't think he's got the best spot in terms of shade, but with the wind and his ears flapping, he is doing a sufficient job at keeping himself cool. Not even bothered about eating. I haven't seen him reach down into the grass or into any of those bushes or trees around him. Just watching, and although he does look like he's half asleep, he'll be very much aware as to what's going on around him. Those ears flapping, they're always listening as well. So this guy, I'm going to give him a few more minutes. Let's see if he doesn't in fact walk towards us or find some water to cool himself down with. And if he doesn't in the next few minutes, I'm going to continue to try and look for some lions.
Well, something that's not walking away at the moment is Corky, who is one of our big female hyenas, and you can see she's having herself a good mud wallow at the moment. Now, I wonder what's going on here, because this morning Steve told me that she was here, and we've come back this afternoon and she's still here. Now, generally with hyenas, they are very prone to wallowing. They like to lie in water. They like to be able to wet their coat and helps them with cooling down. But very seldom do you see them spending the entire day in water like this. And that begs the question as to why she would be doing it. It's not extremely hot today, and maybe there's something else to it. Maybe she might have a sore, a paw or something like that. It's often what you see when an animal's got a bit of an injury, particularly on the legs. They often go and try and find a muddy or watery area where they're able to lie down and to be able to just rest and kind of keep all of those, or if there is an injury, cool, and just helps with the soothing of the pain. You see it a lot sometimes with lions, they do it. So maybe she's carrying a small little injury on her foot that it's just more comfortable to lie in the water, or maybe it is that she's just decided this is where she feels like being for the day. It's very, very kind of unusual to see them for as long a period as this lying in water. Most of the time it's just in, they lie in for a little bit, cool down, and then they get up and they go find a shady spot and lie there. Now, it's interesting also because we know that this particular female was on top of the Djuma clan. We know that she was at one point the matriarch of the group, and she was then, through a series of events, overthrown by the current matriarch of the group, Ribbon. And maybe in that process and lately, because of the fact that there's so many little ones around, maybe Corky and Ribbon have had a bit of a spat, and that's why she's just kind of lying off down this area. Maybe she got bitten on the paw or something like that, and she's just kind of nursing it back to health and staying away and staying out of the way of the matriarch that might be closer towards the den. Either that, or potentially there could be some sort of a carcass around here. That's also a very big possibility. Sometimes when hyenas stay in one place for the whole day, it's because there's a food element. So maybe one of these trees somewhere here is housing a carcass that they potentially would like to get a scrap from, so you never know, maybe there's a leopard with a kill around here. But in that case, normally what they do is they lie right underneath wherever the kill is. They don't go too far away from it, because they know if it does fall and they're right there, they can grab it and go. Whereas if they're far away, it gives a chance for something like a leopard to come down, grab the carcass and go back up again. So we'll have a look around and we'll see, and we'll spend a bit of time here. Maybe we'll notice something. Steve did say to me that he checked this area quite thoroughly this morning, and I can see his vehicle tracks roughly in this area, and he said he didn't see any sign of anything, and we on the way in didn't see any sign of anything either. So maybe she's just resting and taking it easy, and we're just drawing way too many conclusions without knowing. But she certainly seems happy and comfortable inside there. Hyena in mud is generally a happy animal. That's one thing they do have in common with wild dogs, is both of them like to find a little muddy pit and go and kind of wallow in it a little bit. Like I say, it just helps bring that temperature down, particularly if they've been very, very active. You'll find with dogs, if they've run a lot, then they like to find some sort of water point where they can just walk into it, and it helps them just cool down quite quickly. Plus, when they drink, it's much easier to walk into water and drink than it is to kind of bend down and lie down next to the water. Now, you might be wondering how we know it's Corky. Well, kind of, it's difficult to see now, but her left ear is her biggest giveaway. She's got a really nice big notch in that left ear, so hopefully she'll pop her head up a little bit later. We'll be patient and wait and see whether or not she does, and see if there's anything else that's lurking around this area.
Look at this. Here we go again. Look at this cheetah now. Start slowly moving up into this open again. Like earlier on, we lost them now. They keep on moving to this area. This is the area where they were yesterday, and seems to be loving this place a lot. As you can see, it's a bit more open area, and further up is a bit more good cover for them if she needs to hunt. And yeah, she's been spending so much time pretty much in this area. If she's hunting around, she'll come up into this open area again, and just to be able to scan around for the prey. But you won't be able to see where we are, but from miles away, there were quite a few impala. It looks like she marked where she's looking, and just behind these bushes, we won't be able to see, but there are some impala hanging around there. Maybe she will trying to hunt those. We'll see, but she's more into that open area where she is now. But the only movement she took, it will be easier for those impala to pick her up, especially for these cubs. And as you can see, the cubs very, very skinny today. Definitely, she need to do something different from yesterday. She need to catch something, because Digo, the question is, there's cubs that stay with the mom up to 18 to 19 months old, and then they'll be able to hunt by themselves, and then the mom will have to leave them to try and find a mate again. Digo. Yeah, look at the way she's sitting now. She's still a bit more keen, as you can see. Yeah, like these cubs now, they look very tired today. Looks like she's been trying. Oh, here we go. If you can see the way she's moving now, definitely she spotted those impala I was talking about earlier. Then you can see the way she walk, and definitely she spotted them. And let's hope she do better this time. And also where the impalas are, at some very good cover. And if she uses tree cover, it will be very nice. She'll get very nice and close, and then that's what she needs. But the only problem will be these cubs if they just walk without careful, because the impala, they're very sharp as well. They can pick up things miles away. They're very good eyesight. sense of smelling very good for impala, and all the scents are very good actually. And especially today, it's not so much windy like yesterday. They can easily pick it up, anything moving, or yeah, I like the way she's moved. It looks like her head, she's lifting her head up a little bit. Keep on focusing on one spot. Yeah, she seems to be doing well for now. But just to give you an idea how far those impala, they're about 200-300 meters away from where she is now. But she still needs to move quite a bit to get there. I know it will be very difficult to see the impala from because it's quite a long way. Yeah, she looks like she's trying to her best to get there. Well, we'll just hang around and see what's going to happen.
Well, our hyena, as you can see, has not moved much, but you can see the tip of her ear, which is pretty much what we wanted to see. You can see there's a little notch that comes out of that top left corner. It really does help with being able to identify her. And then coupled with that, if you look at her kind of general body condition, you can see there's quite a lot of scarring and some little marks on her. She's an older hyena. Even on her shoulder there's a little bit of fur missing. So she's been through the mill. She's in fact actually even been attacked by a lion once, and somehow managed to wriggle free and get out of there, which was pretty crazy. Not often that happens when lions get hold of hyenas, that they actually manage to get out of their kind of grasp and off they go. But you'll see she's, like I said, not going to move much. I doubt she's going to move until the sun starts to set, other than the fact that there is a little wasp that is irritating her, that's flying towards her sort of face area. And the reason there's a wasp there, you'll see when she lifts her head every now and then, it's kind of landing. Now that wasp is either sequestering moisture from the edge of that puddle, or what it's doing is it's harvesting mud. So what they do is they grab in their mouth parts balls of mud, and then they fly off to wherever they are that they are building their nest, and they then construct it out of mud. The one particular one that we see doing that a lot is called a mud dauber, or a potter wasp. And if you go to that little mud wallow, maybe we should try in a few days' time once there's not a hyena here, you can actually see the little jaw scrapings in the edge of that fine mud, which is really, really cool. From where they've collected. The problem is when there's a hyena that's in it and rolling around, often they splash the water, and because those little markings are so small and so tiny, you lose them pretty quickly, and you don't actually get to see the fine detail that is inside, on the mud itself after the water has been over the top of it. But needless to say, there's nothing else that's around. We haven't found any sign of anything. I've been kind of scanning the trees and just looking around to see if there's any sort of sign of legs dangling or a carcass anywhere, and there's nothing of the sort. So I think she's just taking it easy, really, and having a bit of a rest. Vivian, you say it's so nice to see Corky. It is indeed. I'm hoping that she is going to stand up and move around, because it would be interesting to know whether or not she maybe is carrying a little bit of an injury. Like I say, often when animals lie like this, and you can see she's in full sun, it's not like she's in a shady spot there either. She must have been hit by the sun the whole day today, and so maybe that means that there's a slightly sore area. It does also look like she's got almost like a little bit of mange on her chest, so maybe it's with the mange it's just easing the itch. It's quite common to see mange on animals as we come out of the winter period, and with the rains that we've had and the fact that it's going into a more summer period, you'll find that will start to clear up pretty quickly, although it could just be the mud. Now that I look at it, that's kind of flattened on her chest there and made it all appear pretty dark, as though there's not really much there. She seems fairly alert though, and kind of sniffing around. There's a lot of wind blowing, and so I suppose there's a lot of sounds and smells that are coming through. All right, we'll probably carry on and leave her here and see what else we can find, and see if maybe there isn't any sign of something else in this particular area.
Yeah, look at the cheetah now. She's still standing around there and still facing exactly the same direction where she was. Still like trying to figure out how she's gonna get through to these bushes. As I told you earlier, there was some impala around behind this bush. But I know it's quite a bit more open. But also she needs to get like around the thicket, so that give her a very good cover to get closer to those impalas. Otherwise, if she walks straight through here, the impala, they'll pick her up quite quickly and then they start running away. And she needs to be very smart with doing this. Yeah, so the cubs seems to be doing well. They're not really showing themselves to the impala. They're just lying down, let her doing a job, which is good for them, because they must get a good chance to get a dinner tonight. So looks like it's been like 2 days without catching anything now. Definitely she needs to do something different tonight. Yeah, what I like it today, because it's not very hot, and she still have a very nice chance to catch something, because she doesn't have to worry about the heat. Only for chasing, she can get quite a long distance chasing today without getting overheating. Yeah, David, cheetah, they're very good. That sense of smell, it helped them a lot. Same as the eyesight as well. Hearing as well has also helped them. They're very good sense of smell, David. Yeah, especially the wind, not strong wind. It's like mild wind is helping them a lot. And yeah, this is a good place. I don't know why the impala, if the impala keep coming this way, and I'll be very lucky for the cheetah, because that will be like a very nice room service for them. Cheetah is not as strong as like other predators, like a hyena or lion or leopard, because the cheetah have a very small jaws. The bite is, that's why they prefer to bite straight to the throat, so they can suffocate the prey. They don't really need a strong bite, just to be able to stop the wind pipe, so they can suffocate the prey. Yeah, that's how they do. Wow, the mom's also just lying down as well. But I think they're giving themselves a good time, so they can figure out how she's gonna do it. The impala have no idea what's happening around, which is good for the cheetah. It's very soon they'll be very good for those cubs, because the age of them now, they're still learning to do hunting and killing, and they actually need to learn of those kind of techniques, because if they're grown up without get that kind of training, it will be very difficult for them to survive into this kind of environment. So the lambing season of impala is coming very soon, so that will be very nice for them. The mom should catch something, she won't kill it straight away, and she'll let them to learn how to kill, like I answered that question earlier for suffocating. That is very important for them to learn for that kind of way of killing. Otherwise, like as you can see, start getting nice and green now. The impala, yeah, there will be a lot of youngsters running around, and the mom will start chasing a lot of the babies of impala. Because Mom's just getting down for now. We'll just hang around and as well, just to see, because the impala not too far away from here. So the impala just grazing around.
Well, it's not a clever place to be grazing near if you're an impala. Cheetah loves an impala meal, so see how that all plays out. But we're still sitting with our hyena at the moment. I've been watching this wasp, loving it kind of flying around, and the fact that it must have been in and out so many times that this hyena does not actually even care at all. I mean, it's bouncing around close to its back, it's kind of flying over its ears, and when a wasp flies near you, I mean, it's a very, very loud buzzing sound, and most animals normally respond to it, but you probably find during the course of today, lying in this little puddle, this thing has been back and forth so many times that she knows now that it's nothing she needs to worry about, and it's no longer interesting at all, and that's why she's not even lifting her head as it goes back and forth, collecting the mud. Be interesting to know how far it's actually flying with that mud. I suspect not too far at all. It'd be quite cool to kind of just have a little look around and see if you can find where the actual little nest is being built. I suspect it's fairly close. But that is one happy hyena at this stage. Lying in a pan like that is probably making her very happy. You can barely even see her head from here. If you had to be kind of walk from lower down, I mean, you would probably not even notice her. She's so low to the ground at the moment. But I suppose it makes for, like I say, the perfect little bed. But there's those scars that I was talking about a little bit earlier. You can see them around the ears. It's all indicators of an animal that is older, as well as one that had led quite a rough life. She, funny enough, actually was quite badly injured at one point. She wasn't doing all that well. She was carrying quite a nasty injury, and we actually thought that it might be the end of her, but somehow she's managed to kind of come right and pull it off and fix it, and, well, not fix it, but, get through it, and that's probably due to the fact that as a clan member, even if you're the matriarch and you knock down the rungs, you're still able to find the food that you need, which is really, really cool. It's an amazing part of being part of a social grouping out here in the wild. It really is fascinating to watch how these animals can help one another when they're in a dire situation, and how resilient they can be to injuries, that's for sure. But absolutely beautiful afternoon so far. It's been a magical start to our safari to see hyenas and cheetahs. So we're going to carry on watching these guys, and we're going to try and see if we can even find a sneaky little leopard somewhere this afternoon.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Masai Mara. It's been raining and we have wonderful sighting of elephants. My name is Tim, and behind camera we have Big James. What a nice weather. Elephants looking very polite, grazing very well. They're enjoying the grass, and it's such a nice afternoon here. Now, we have a surprise. That elephant there has a very tiny calf. There's a tiny calf, and I think it's a new member in this family, just been introduced to this family. So these elephants are walking just out of the marsh. Good thing that the rain has poured on them. You can see all their bodies are just super black, covered in water, and some of them have been sprinkling in mud, trying to get some mud bath. A tiny baby is just somewhere there. Almost a month old. Look at how small that is. So cute. think we've not seen this before. It's the first time we get to see this tiny calf, and it's so nice when you see tiny elephants walking in their natural habitat like this, knowing that it's going to have a very nice, bright future, because at the moment we have very good protection for this endangered species. Just following the cars in there. So young elephants will always be in the company of other teenage and other youngsters who sometimes are so playful with them, and they help to discipline them. Oh, that one is scratching off. So after a mud bath, elephants will always walk to a stump or a tree where they'll come and rub to get the ticks off from their skins. So this behavior they learn from watching the adults. Oh, scratchy face there. Anthony, thank you so much for your question. Elephant dung can be used as manure. So in our gardens, sometimes people might use elephant dung, but it's way far from our homestead. Sometimes we hardly use that, but it can come in very handy for manure. I remember when I was growing up, we used to use dried up elephant dung for cooking. So we'll use that as charcoal, where we'll go collect as much as we can, dry up the elephant poop, and then use that to light up our fires. So elephant dung, despite them we using them as coal or charcoal, can be used as manure. You can see how slowly they're walking because they have small calves. So they need to walk in a slow pace so that the young ones cannot tire. And if in case the youngsters show signs of being tired, the entire family stops and rest. So I'm going to hang around here watching this elephant and see if that tiny calf will get close to us as I take you over to another live location.
Well, jumbo everyone, and good afternoon. We are here in Central Mara Triangle, and I have a very beautiful big herd of buffaloes with lots of young ones scattered here and there, enjoying their afternoon outing here in the plains. Well, my name is Isaac, and on camera I have the only one, Bungay, and today our mission is to find you Romy, our lone leopard. I hope we can see her. If not, we have plenty to show you around. Yes, this is the Cape buffalo, an animal with a natural anger, and that is an adaptation that has made it so successful because many predators avoid it. The only predator that goes for it are lion, hyena, and leopard, and mostly leopard and hyena go for young ones. So it is aggressive nature has made it so successful such that it is not easy prey to go for. This is a breeding herd. As you can see, there are over maybe 300 or more, all scattered in the bushes here. I cannot really count how many there are, but for sure there are so many, I cannot tell you. An animal that has never been used to vehicles or humans. As you can see, they're so alert. They're not even taking 1 minute to just go down and eat. They're just listening to me and looking at the vehicle. This is another adaptation, I think, that has made them very successful because they can always get away. They don't want to be friendly. most animals that have became friendly to humans were really, hunted in the early years. Well, this is an animal that can weigh up to almost 900 kilos. It's got a gestation period of 11 months, and it is a pure grazer. It feeds on grass. It is water dependent, so it needs to drink every day. All their senses, hearing, sight, and smell, is very, very, very good. And they can run, my friend. They can run very fast. Yeah, 60 kilometers an hour. They might look bulky and clumsy and slow, but I tell you, if you see one running, you will admire, a buffalo. Right now, they're chewing their cud, very much like cows do. But that little guy, that little guy there is phlegm testing. He's too young to be doing that, but they learn from a very young age.
Very good afternoon. Welcome to Tswalu. Beautiful jackal here, busy disturbing these mountain rearbuck coming to the watering hole. A little quick action here. The jackal coming to the water hole just for a little drink here on this very hot day. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Carl. Welcome to Tswalu. Behind camera is David. Yes, David. And what a nice sighting, this jackal here at the watering hole we have. Obviously coming down to the watering hole on this very hot day. We're at about 34 degrees Celsius today. That's about 93 degrees Fahrenheit. So you can see now those days progressively getting warmer and warmer and warmer. And where watering holes like this can become a hive of activity through the hotter periods of the day. So what we've decided to do is just come see what is happening here. Taking it easy. And then from here, we're just going to scratch around, see what the Kalahari can serve up for us today. Just let nature do its thing. There they're going back on the left, Dave. There's a little rearbuck coming back down to the watering hole. They're going to give it another attempt. Obviously a little bit nervous with the jackal. The jackal is no real danger to these animals. They're a little bit bigger than the jackal, but still on the cautious side. So really nice to see these antelope. Hence the name mountain rearbuck. They prefer habitats such as the Coronaberg mountain range, which is a perfect area for these agile and very, very mobile animals. Fantastic. Nice. So I think we should just stay here for the afternoon. I think we've got our plan of action already. Very, very large eyes. These are all females here. Males will have a little set of horns, almost in the same shape as a springbok. There comes the male on the left-hand side now. Fantastic, what a sight. Normally early morning, late evening, you would see these guys at a watering hole, and they're very shy. I've only had a few sightings on Tswalu, and so few I can count them in my one hand. But seeing them like this at the water is just a treat. Nice white underbelly. Obviously a nice distinguishing difference between male and female. And then when the tail wags, you can see they're going to have quite a fluffy tail. Here comes somebody in front. A little bit late to the watering hole, running in. Wow. For me, this is a natural catchment area of water, and this is from the rains that we've had a couple of months ago. And then it is actively pumped, just because the aridness of Tswalu, you have to have a few of these local watering holes, and where we actually feed one or two of them obviously life-giving properties for these animals. And we utilize the solar energy, so obviously derived from energy from the sun that drives a solar pump, and we actually feed the water from borehole systems. And this borehole is at about 80, 90 meters that's pumping the water. But most of it is from our previous rainy spell that we had. And obviously the sediment and then the structure of it allows for water to be held here for an extended period of time into the drier periods that we're currently in now, which is obviously just absolutely vital for these animals. Sure, having a good drink. Nothing quenches the thirst like water does there. Nice fluffy tail there by the male. It's just turned around. Wow. All right, we're going to send you off to another amazing location and we'll see you guys shortly. Welcome back to andBeyond and Ngala. We've come back to the spot where we were this morning with that young Birmingham lioness and her 2 cubs. And as you can see, the cubs are out and about and playing. And in the top left, we're zooming into the cub now, there was the mother that was over there. This is the young lioness, the new cub. And this morning she was incredibly playful and inquisitive. She's still right in the shade of that spike thorn over there. But watching and listening, Mama's out for the count, fast asleep. They just poked their heads up temporarily a few minutes ago. There were 2 elephant bulls that came down behind us, and they've moved off now. But that got the attention of these little cubs. Now, an interesting little situation or scenario would be elephants and lions. They've actually got a terrible relationship. Even though these 2 elephant bulls wouldn't be on the menu for these lions, they wouldn't hunt and try and kill them at the risk of injuring themselves. But elephants really don't like lions. And if those elephants had got a smell of these lions, they probably would have come in to investigate and try and actually kill these cubs. Mom would have had to have some very quick thinking to try and get them out of harm's way and maybe put them into one of those bushes to try and hide them from the elephants. Elephants can be incredibly aggressive towards lions, particularly lion cubs. They're somewhat easier to get to than mom. Mom can run away relatively easily, but these little cubs are at a huge risk to elephants. It's just that age-old rivalry between the 2. And you'll see in certain areas, some prides of lions specialize in killing elephants, maybe some smaller, younger elephants. But younger elephants are often spending time in the herd, which makes it difficult to get to them. But here at Ngala, there's an abundance of other prey, so they don't really target elephants per se. But this little lioness, you see, her eyes are slowly closing. She was bathing herself earlier, licking her paws, wiping her face. Cats are very good at looking after themselves and cleaning themselves, and particularly lions, very good at cleaning each other as well. Even after a kill, and they'll be covered in blood, you'll see them the next day clean as they were before. Looks quite comfortable. Resting on her front paw, ears flicking, getting rid of the flies that are maybe buzzing around her. Odie, I don't know if you want to have a look at that young male in the back, almost practicing his pull-ups on that bar. Kendra, thanks for your question. When do lion cubs learn to hunt? They're pretty much always learning to hunt from the moment they can see, whether it be tackling each other, playing with each other, watching mom, accompanying mom on hunts. That'll only happen around, if mom got up this evening and left to try and take them back towards the pride, which they have been introduced to, and mom decided to hunt, they would hang back and they would watch. Now, that is the process of learning how to hunt. They'll only be successful hunters or very good hunters, maybe around 3 or 4. But it's that kind of practice makes perfect, and watch and learn from mom. Even this little male playing with that stick, biting it and chewing it, you'll see like even retracting his claws and things like that around that stick. That may be a form of trying to work out how to use his claws properly, which he would need in order to bring prey down. But they're always learning and watching. You'll see little birds that walk past. They may try and stalk and try and hunt a little bird. And maybe even at this age, if that bird is a bit slow, they could catch it. They might not know exactly what to do with it. But that's all part of the process of trying to learn how to hunt. Look at the little sister's just got a little bit of an interest with her young brother over there. Wonder if she might not get up and join. Let's hang around and see if she does.
Yeah, the cheetah cubs now also start moving to the thicket now, but also the mom, she just went into the thicket there. She's trying to get a bit of cover, but I'm not sure how she's going to make it that side, because it's even more open where she's going through. And also there is a wildebeest hanging around there by herself. That's going to be that wildebeest is going to spot her first before she reaches the impala. Unless she come all around behind the other bushes there, avoid that wildebeest, we're not able to spot her. I'm not sure if she's going to think like that, but we'll see. Yes, she's coming back because of that. Yes, she starts coming back again. I think she realized that it's too open that side. Unless wherever she is, she comes straight towards us, that it might help her quite a lot. But she can still see the impala where she is, but the impala have got no idea yet. And look at the way she's putting a footstep. Wow. I don't know what she's going to do, how she's going to do it, because there's a wildebeest right front into the open area like that. As you know, cheetah is a fast mammal in land, but still far away from where the impala they are. Yeah, that's tough. Even the cubs, they're like trying. Lana, I've seen a female cheetah like that, taking it down full grown of female kudu, which is a big prey from a cheetah. Yeah, that's what I've seen, Lana, with the male impala, also quite a big, but she can also manage to take down Lana. Yeah, look at this, where she's moving. It's unbelievable how open that. I think she's going to use the grass as a cover, but I'm not too sure how she's going to do with that wildebeest. Yes, she can do that leopard crawl onto this long grass, if she could, but the problem with that wildebeest, I think also she's thinking exactly the same what I'm thinking as well, because it's going to be very tough. But never say never for that. Wow, this is a lovely stalking. Yes, it reminded me that yesterday that leopard was crawling on a tall grass. It disappeared right in front of our eyes. But yeah, that is quite a long way. It's about 150 meters where the impalas are, away from that cheetah. But yeah, she knows what she's doing. Let's hope she's gonna make that happen. Wow, yeah. Yeah, you can see the cubs also following her. But she's slowly coming out. Maybe she's decided to run straight towards them. But yeah, we'll wait here and see what she's thinking.
I hope those cheetahs will find something to eat tonight. Now back to our elephants. You can see they're all surrounding the youngsters. Now calves will be protected throughout their long juvenile stages. Just like humans, how babies will also be protected by their mothers and everyone in the family. So when it comes to resting or maybe defense against predators, they all circle around them in a defensive way. Like I told you, when these elephants are walking, because the calf are too young to keep up with the pace, sometimes they have to stop and rest. And during this rest, you find that the nursing mothers will lactate or nurse their young ones just for comfort, even though they are weaned at about 2 years. Sometimes you find that they'll be nursing for up to 3 to 5 years. And during intervals of grazing, when they're walking from one area to another, these calves will be nursing because of comfort. It seems like this is one big family led by the elephant with it, who has one task. I can't really see her. I think she's gone way up in front, the one that had the small calf. Oh, those two are playing. Those playful games help the teenagers, especially if they are males. When they become big bulls, they'll use those kind of tactics they use now as playful games to defend against other big bulls. A measure of strength while pushing off each other. Oh, young males tend to be more adventurous, and as you can see, they're trying to push off each other. And because they are so much adventurous, they distance themselves from the rest of the herd. Look, they're just on the edges of that herd as they're playing up and about. But females will always follow the instincts of their mother, which will help them one day in future as they become matriarchs. So as we watch this elephant just slowly walking through this grassland, I'm going to take you over to another live location.
Well, it's a very windy day here in Pridelands, and we're just watching a jackal tuck itself beneath the grass, desperately trying to get out of the wind. Now, this is where I try and do a very graceful appearance, because I was slouched back in my chair so Seb could see over at the jackal. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and as I said, on camera with me today is Sebastian Romby, and we are here at Pridelands, which is part of Prrivate Game Reserve and the Greater Kruger. And we are sitting with some of my favorite animals that I actually haven't seen for a long time, and I've been searching for them because those of you that have been watching for quite a period now would have seen lots of jackal pups in the Mara. No jackal pups, we've just got the adults. But now I'm going to slouch down. It's like the elevator move, but for safari, so that Sebastian can see the jackals. Have we lost them again, Seb? The jackal's being very clever this afternoon. You almost cannot see it. Have you lost it? No, yeah, there we go. At those two acacias. And the way that it has slouched all the way. It's been very blustery pretty much since yesterday afternoon. It's been not particularly pleasant. But I was really surprised to see that the black-backed jackal have moved back to Impala Plains. We did see them when we first started broadcasting from Pridelands, and I became quite fond of them. And then I was really hoping that we would find where they had a den, and we could watch their pups grow up. So that's not the case just yet, but maybe the jackal pups are still very young and are hidden away in a den nearby. So we'll keep coming back to see if we can find them. Rosalind, that's a great question. You've asked about how fast can jackals run. Well, I think it depends on what's chasing them, because I've seen lions chasing after jackal before, and my goodness, the great speeds that they were able to reach must have been, I'm absolutely guessing now, please don't quote me on this, because I don't really know exactly how fast a jackal can run, but they must have been going at 50, maybe about 40 kilometers an hour, maybe a bit quicker than that. Probably a bit quicker. No, much faster. I don't even know how fast it run, to be honest. Quickly. They can move much faster than I can. Maybe over 50 kilometers an hour. Here we go. Urinating. Now, that's something that we have seen this jackal do. I suspect that it's a male. And we're just going to go with has been marking his territory like that a fair amount. So he's been walking from shrub to shrub. Maybe it's because they haven't been on these open plains for so long that they need to reestablish themselves here. They are monogamous. There is a second one wandering around here somewhere. We did see it earlier. And, so now they need to let any other jackals know that unfortunately this spot is now occupied, because it is real prime territory for a jackal. It's nice and open, but there's also lots of shrubs and things. And something that jackals absolutely love to do, I don't know why, I just got a fright. I don't know what it's looking at. Something wasn't so good. What scared you? Not worried about us, though. Anyways, is that there are lots of ground nesting birds here. There's crowned lapwings and all sorts of other wonderful things. And they will mission around. They've got a great sense of smell and look for their eggs. So there are also quite a few unhappy crowned lapwings. Also some unhappy guinea fowl in the distance, too. But it's nice that they're back here. But I think breeding season happens a little bit earlier in the Mara. I mean, it can be anywhere between August and October, and obviously we are well into October now, so we will keep coming here. And I'm just curious. I'm almost quite keen to sit here for the rest of the afternoon and see if they have got a little burrow into the ground somewhere and watch them go in. You see their scent marking again. Definitely re-establishing its territory. So both the male and female will be quite territorial around here. And hopefully if they have got a den and they do successfully raise some puppies, they might stay here for a little bit longer too, and then help raise the next generation. Beady, yes, yeah, I suppose they do remind you a little bit of a coyote. I've never seen a coyote before. I think they're bigger than the jackals. And of course we don't get coyotes here. I miss the jackals from the Mara. I so enjoyed watching those little pups grow up. It was one of my favorite and most fond memories. He's just gone behind the bush. Hopefully he's going to pop out. Sorry, I'm now slumped in the chair. So this is what happens. Apologies, everybody. It looks glamorous being a safari guide. Sebastian has to shoot my head. I'd love to see Tristan get into this position, because he's a tall human. I mean, I'm not quite as tall as Tristan, but it's difficult to squash in a Land Rover like that. Oh, Seb, actually, speaking of crowned lapwings, one has just arrived on the scene, so that's quite perfect. We do that, and then we will hopefully find the other jackal. But and then
if you look down to the bushes there, we can see the cheetah actually lying down there. And yeah, see, they're still watching for this impala movement, because soon as impala start facing away from them, she will start again getting closer and closer. then she'll be able to chase them. Otherwise, from that open patch and also volubes right in front of her, it doesn't make it very difficult. While if you look at them, it looks like they lost interest, but they're actually still on a hunt. It's just because of there's not so much cover for this area where she is, and she's just waiting to see if the impala are moving away a bit, because all around the area, as you can see, there's a bit more bushes around, but where the impala is, they are more open, and also there's a volubus right into the area where she's facing her. It will be very difficult because even that volubus, if you spotted her, she'll make a lot of noise to warn everyone, all impala, they will be running away from her. Then she will lose the dinner again. She's been very calm. As you know, to be patient always help. That's what she does now. She's come very patient for now because she knows everything, it will settle down. That volubus, it might move away. And also, because if the impala start moving through the bush, she will come right behind them. Then she'll be doing a proper job. As you know, look how beautiful her face. Look, she's looking straight direct to us. And how beautiful green way she is. She's lying there. Wow, this is a lovely, look at the beautiful spot. And let's help him to camouflage like through these bushes. Yeah, you find it very difficult even to see the cubs, but they're actually lying right behind her where she is, because they're just paying a lot of attention, just following her instruction. Yeah, she knows what she's doing. When you look at her, when I'm talking about she's hunting, I know it's going to be quite difficult to believe that, but I promise she's on a hunt for now, but it's just because she come in a difficult situation for now. She's been very patient, what I can say. And light is still good. Yeah, you can see she's just sit up a little bit, but I know she's still gonna do exactly the same. She might try to get a bit more rounded because it's very open here, I promise. Yeah, or just be with her and see what she's gonna end.
Welcome back to our elephants, who seem like they're walking slowly, grazing, while the cows are still so much playful. And I saw one of them was actually getting close to mom. I don't know what he was doing, but it looks like he was touching mom. So that touch is very important for cows. So cows express their affections to their mothers, but also obtain information exactly. For example, what the mothers or sisters are eating, where they want to go, and something like that. So sometimes the calf will touch their mothers when they want to nurse, when they want to suckle. And sometimes during those touches, they get the chemical information, and that is the way they learn about nutrition and social aspects that will help them to understand and assess what these elephants are doing. So you find that when they're distressed, they will come to the mother, cling to the man, and also try to suckle. See, that's a young bull there. Thank you so much for your question. if an elephant will not eat for a while, then the mothers will always hang around them, try to see how they'll be stressed, trying to at least hold and grab and put that elephant closer to the mom to see if they can nurse. But then if you come across such a scenario where elephant is not eating, so I'll definitely know either that elephant is sick or not. If it goes on for about 2-3 days, then it will be a point of concern where I'll raise the issue to the authority, where they'll come and assess and tell what is going on, and of course maybe get some treatment. But if it's a calf, the same case will happen. The mother will try as much as she can, but then if it's not, then we will be forced to call the authority, who will come with their expertise and assess that particular situation, and then if it needed be wants to be treated, then they'll take care of that. So to add that, when a calf gets too close to the mother, they also get the chemical information on the well-being of the calf. For example, if the calf is stressed, if the calf cannot well digest the food that has eaten. So most importantly, we found that touch has a great calming effect when the mother get to touch the calves. So when elephants are growing, they so much need their mothers for that affection. Thank you so much for your question. I think, in that opinion, it means that an elephant can get give birth about six times. About 6 times. Now it's time to move. You can see they've increased the pace. Just thank you so much for your question. This elephant, I can see it consists of about 22 elephants, including the calves. It's about 22. It's a good number, so the metric is doing a very good job. Remember, these metrics have the intelligence of knowing the communication of each and every single particular elephant. So the entire herd know the communication of the mother or the matriarch, but as well the matriarch knows every particular elephant's communication. Very interesting. Well, some have increased the pace, some have already slowed the pace because of the calves, but they all walk into the same direction. They have to follow that because the matriarch is the one that decides when to go, when to stop, and what direction to take as they're grazing, or maybe if they're going for water. Look at that calf. It's so small and young. So when aging elephants, you tell that by looking at the calf or an infant under the 1 year, they walk under their mother's belly. So that is super small. You can see how far it's got, that height. It can actually walk under the mother's belly. And the calves of about 2 years are totally dependent on their mother's milk as well. But sometimes they're capable of drinking water with their trunks. So when they're this small, their trunks are very fiddly. They lose coordination. They don't have the coordination of their trunks yet. So they really depend on their mother's milk. And after when they're about 2 years, that is when they'll be able to coordinate and use their trunks well. So I'm going to leave this herd and go find something else as I take you over to another live location. Back to our elephants. Seems like they've not gone far. I've decided to stay here because it seems like that tiny one has got me carried away because how small it is and how special it is to watch tiny elephant calves in their natural habitat. See that calf still following mom. At this time it's not actually dependent on grass. They have to use or drink mother's milk most of the time. That's why you see it's following mom and trying to do what mom is doing, and by watching the rest of the herd, how they're using their trunks to pull off grass. But it's not too strong to be able to pull grass with their trunk until when they're about 2 years and above. That's when they'll be able to use their trunks fully to drink, to pull grass. And slowly these ones are following them. You can tell the mother with the calf, the tiny calf, is the matriarch. Because at one point, she stopped and the rest of the herd stopped. So I'm going to sit here, watch these elephants, as I take you over to another live location.
Yeah, look how beautiful she's looking direct to us, that cheetah. And yeah, she hasn't really moved. She's still sitting here waiting for these impala to move a little bit. You even can see the cubs also lying down there, which is very good. They've been very patient. Looks like she's focusing more to where the impalas are now. Yeah, I see one of the impala actually, it moved forward again to the open patch, but very close to the wildebeest. There's nowhere else the cheetah she could Rob, because the wildebeest is busy grazing, facing more on the ground, he doesn't really spot the cheetah yet. Even impalas, they're there, but they don't see the cheetah yet, Rob. But as soon as the cheetah start moving into the open area, Rob, if you look there, Rob, and you might be able to see that wildebeest. Just look, there is impala also, and right there will be that wildebeest I'm talking about. If you can see the volvulus is busy grazing there. That's why I couldn't see the cheetah. That answers your question there, Rob. Yeah, the impala's just there. Also, yeah, look at that impala. Also got no idea that cheetah is around. But I think she should change a plan, use a different cover that cheetah, but she's still thinking she'll move across into this open patch. But if the volvulus is still around, there was no chance because he'll warn everyone, and everyone will just run. Let's hope she figured out that it's not going to be a good idea. And the light is perfect, but yeah. Wow, look at it. They're looking around. And the volvulus have no idea, and they probably even turn around facing a different direction, even impala too. I think the problem is the more impala still grazing around where that the male impala is just standing there. Probably if they're facing towards her, there is no chance to start walking towards them. Yeah, this is a lovely sighting, and we hope it's going to be different reaction later. Yeah, you can see that's just lying there, but we're, like always, we'll sit and wait and see what's going to happen.
Look at this magnificent angle David is giving for us on this beautiful, beautiful insect. So we were making our way down south past that pan, and this very distinctive shrilling, constant shrilling noise got our attention. The sound has started now in the past 3 or 4 days. They've started to emerge slowly and slowly. So as the heat starts to increase, further into summer, so more and more of these insects will be producing the unmistakable and distinctive sound. This is a cicada or a cicada. This is one of many species that we have in South Africa and then obviously around the globe. Really remarkable insects. But what a magnificent view. David's got us in over here to see this animal. And look how well camouflaged it is. So in South Africa, we actually incorrectly refer to these insects as Christmas beetles. They're not actually beetles. David is getting a better position here for us. They're not actually beetles, but they're part of a bug family referred to as true bugs, Hemiptera. And its body plan and as well as its mouth parts is what categorizes it into this very, very diverse group of organisms. So incorrectly referred to as Christmas beetles here in South Africa because of the onset of the heat. On obviously December, these insects start producing this constant shrill. And why they come in a bit more heightened activity in summer is because that these males producing the sound can regulate that call at a more constant tempo. So with the heat, this animal or this insect can produce a sound that is more attractive and more constant to a female. Male and female both have ears. Obviously males are a little bit more larger to pick up sounds. There's also a way in how they will displace other males. But the way in which the sound is produced is quite unique. They've got 2 sound producing organs under the abdomen called tymbals. And if you've ever opened up a jar of peanut butter or beetroot, my favorite, and you basically have what they refer to as the safety seal. So when you turn that jar and the lid is opened far enough, the lid actively pops to show you that that jar has not been opened. Those sound-producing organs are working in the same manner as if you were opening up a jar. That click is what is happening. But now you've got to think about it. It's a click at such a volatile, rapid pace that it is continuous. And these two organs are laying underneath or situated underneath his abdomen. They're really amazing. But so the onset of summer, we hear them and they're incorrectly referred to as Christmas beetles, but they are part of the true bug family, or Hemiptera, Cicada or Cicada. Males make the sound and females listen for them. Lord Fell, how big is it? I'd put it around about 5 centimeters, so around about that big. If you can take my finger, 5 centimeters is about that big there. So within my hand or on against my book, it's not a massive insect, but the sound that it's producing is just unreal. And what we're hoping for is for it to start producing this beautiful sound. So they exhibit quite complex life cycles as well. You'll find some around the world have very extensive and prolonged life cycles, obviously in the more temperate regions in the northern hemisphere. Ian, do they smell? No, they don't smell. I'm sure that there is certain chemical cues that obviously with a female she'll produce certain chemical signatures, but for our very limited sense of smell, they don't produce any smell for us. The sound they produce is definitely the high point of these amazing insects. So what he's doing now in summer, that he's basically singing out, but now he can control the tempo or the sound at a more constant, even manner that is attractive to these females. Once he actively mates with her, then he'll obviously make his way, she'll make her way, she'll scar the bark of a tree with her proboscis, lay the eggs inside there, and boom, she's gone. When the eggs hatch, they fall to the ground and they actually bore underneath the tree, and they live off the sap of the tree, and they basically pupate, they grow or develop in a nice, safe manner underneath the tree until eventually coming out as an adult like this, singing and completing the life cycle. But the sound is so distinctive, and obviously around Christmas time, that's where South Africans, we call them Christmas Beetles, because in December, Christmas is upon us and we hear it. We're going to send you to another location and we'll see you shortly. Welcome back. It's starting to cool down a little bit, and these cubs are starting to wake up. This little female's just been spending a little bit of time on that rock, playing around, moving around in our tire tracks. And at the moment, she's currently staring at her brother. And her brother's staring right at her as well. Let's see. There he is. He's just watching right at her. Now she's back up on that rock. Sorry to do that, Odie. But she's taken a small little interest and a fascination in that rock, climbing about. It's like a little jungle gym. Let's see, this kind of excitement might entice her brother to come over and inquire as to what she is finding so interesting about that rock. Oh, there she goes, lies down again. The sun is starting to dip, and this is the time when lions would start to wake up. The cubs are already moving around, but mom is still fast asleep. Barbara, do they get fur balls like domestic cats? Very much so. And you'll often see, particularly at carcasses when they're licking fur away and even sometimes eating some skin and some fur, that they will get a sort of fur ball. You'll also see quite a lot of hair and quite a lot of fur in their feces, or scat as we call it. So yes, they would get a fur ball very similar to that of a domestic cat. Have a look at her just watching us here. She's almost trying to hide behind that rock. She's not very well hidden from her brother, but she's pressed right up against it. little flick of the tail, jostling around, a little bit of movement. Interested in us again. Wonder if she isn't trying to go into like a really low crouch stalk position, waiting for her brother to lose attention on her so that she can quietly sneak up on him and pounce. Nope. Oh, she's fighting off a little bit of sleep again. Ears poked right forward. She is focused on her brother. He's not so interested anymore. Jurassic knee, you ask how long can lions go without water? Now it depends. Most lions are what we call water-dependent animals, so they require it as often as they can get it. However, they also get a lot of their hydration and moisture from the fresh kills that they make by drinking and consuming the blood that the animals have. And if they have lots of fresh kills, they won't need nearly as much water. But you'll see in the drier times, when there is very little water around, their behavior is somewhat more predictable, if that's even an option out here, because they do frequent the watering holes every couple of days or so. But now, this time of the year, we've had lots of rain, there's lots of little puddles around. They don't have to frequent the watering holes because there's water everywhere. And they, if they walk past one, will potentially drink every day. She's now just using that rock as a pillow. She's done all sorts of investigating, climbing up, moving around. Now, potentially the best use for this rock is a headrest. Doesn't look too comfortable to me. It looks like she might, she was going to try and bite it there for it. We're trying to get to that point in the afternoon when the cubs are getting super restless and they'll start moving around, playing with each other, with anything around there. And they're going to go and start playing with mom and trying to get her to wake up and move around. Daniel, nice name. That does look like a cooled off lava rock, and I think it's actually a granite rock that has been here for quite some time. You can see the different layers in there. Cub's head right on top of it in the different colors. It's amazing. That rock formation is quite unique, isn't it? Just moving her head around, trying to find that comfy spot. The wind is starting to blow a bit more through here, actually cooling us down much quicker than the rest of the reserve. You'll often see, in the sand here, it's far more comfortable. They can maneuver their bodies in and find a comfortable spot, much more comfortable than the hard roads and hard sands away from the riverbed. A little bit of grooming, a little bit of cleaning. You can see the spots very clearly on that back leg of that young male. And those spots, they will grow out of them. For now, when they're born, they are super spotty, and it'll help camouflage them when mom goes and hunts. And she'll hide them in the bushes and around this area when she does go out and hunt. But as they get older, they will they'll grow out of those spots rather. Let's see, the little male, you see how he's kind of positioning himself super low, kind of creeping forward. See what his next move is. I don't know if he's, up he gets. Big stretch. Have a look around, he's just turned towards mom. He's walking back up towards her. See what he does. If he doesn't go and try and say, hey mom, I'm ready to move on. Or he might just be finding a more comfortable spot. He's watching his sister moving around. Let's see if these little two Don't start playing with one another, and maybe get mom's attention. If mom gets up and starts to move, they will very likely follow her.
Beautiful. So we come to this position of wildebeest. Looks like quite of a mixed antelope species here, as well as impalas. And this is actually what they like most about, being together, grazing. So it's all about grazing and also safety lookout. And with a blue wildebeest, it's so important that they are also joined by the other animal, and then have to trust one another that way. But there's a system on the wildebeest where, territorial bull would sometimes walk away differently. And sometimes they're very territorial, where it comes to the point where he might sometimes brave enough to be able to welcome the other males when the female's not around in his territory. We're talking about the male that they haven't yet dominated, which is not a problem with him. It's the only problem when they're trying to frighten him, and of course trying to sneak around to his female, where the female, they're free range for sure. They don't have a limit of going, so they have allowance to travel further as much as they want. See a lot of different males out there. And every time they come to this specific male that you're dominating around in this area, just for example, with this group, looking at this one of the male over here, must be in maybe a dominant usually. And that they have to come to a very much specific area where he operates. And then for that, and they will call out when it's need to, and sometimes they will go visit his kind of like a dust bath area, where the male, they create a little bit of a ground pit where they always advertise that by rolling over and over, rub against the trees for lifting over this preorbital gland they got. And that's kind of a communication for the male to let the other know that, okay, I was there, or I'm here. And it's much important for other male that they don't know that area is been taken or it's occupied, that they might come in and try and cause problem. But if it ever happen that they come in and they notice this ground has been marked over, and then of course they will be let that, okay, this area has been taken. So we're focusing on these two there. On the far right, you can see the difference. The female's much kind of like gold color, and the male dark on the left-hand side. And of course, usually the face for the male is quite a dark in the forehead. And the male and the female, they carry horn as well. So the mainly reason for the horns are self-defense and these species. These they haven't actually reached far in terms of migrations. Find a zebra, these wildebeest throughout the year. Some of them reach, some of them don't. Those they can, some that don't really get to that far away. So I'm gonna take you to another guide who will show you beauty of the wild while we're carrying on looking for more animals, possibly looking for the wine this afternoon. Hope we get lucky.
Both the cubs are now up and about. The male has now moved over to the rock, also taking a similar interest to what the female was a few moments ago. Watch how the female's watching though. You see how she puts her head down, just watching very carefully. Let's watch what happens here. Turns his back, maybe not the best move. Are you gonna sneak up, Bob? See those little ankle taps? Wasn't moving quite quick enough to actually tap him up. But a really good tool to learn when hunting. When animals are running really fast, just a simple tap to the back leg may cause an animal to collapse. Look at that male taking that stick, going all the way to mom. Look at what I've got. Going. Little sister's stalking up behind him without him realizing as well. Let's give it a moment, see if she jumps on him. Quietly. Oh no, just wants this. Oh, he's found a biggest. Playing with that sharp. His sister's now picked up that exact stick that he had earlier and is taking it back to where it came from. And the male following again. Amazing how sticks can be of such interest to these little guys. Interesting to see the male thinks he's hidden behind the bush, watching. Oh, in he comes. Little tap on the head. Takes his stick right back. Oh. You'll see even at this young age, that male is already starting to get slightly bigger than that female. And he'll weigh a little bit more than she does and is a little bit stronger already. And because of that, he can almost start pushing and bullying her off of something as simple as a stick like that. Seem to be sharing it quite all right at the moment. Who's going to give up first? Oh, stick's breaking. Better reposition before your sister takes it. It's typical rivalry between siblings. I only want something because you had it first. Camo Pugger. I couldn't agree more. My siblings and I are very similar. And as I said earlier, sometimes I only want something because my brother had it first. So it seems like it's a very similar situation here. The male found the stick first, took it up towards mom, then the sister followed, took it back, and there's a little bit of a tussle between it. But the sister seems to have moved off and found her own stick. Much smaller, but I'm sure she'll lose interest shortly, particularly if the male continues to have such a good time with his big stick. I wonder, let's maybe try and head back towards where the rest of the pride was seen this morning. It is that time of day when they're going to start waking up. Maybe they'll get up and move around and start to hunt.
I'm sure they will start to wake up. It's really cooled down quite a bit this afternoon, and as you can see, we've managed to find a really nice herd of ellies, which I'm surprised about given how windy it's been. They're out in the open having a really nice drink down at Twin Dams. So they all appeared out of nowhere. They came kind of rushing out of the bush and quickly down towards the water's edge, and it's not a very big herd. There's only a few kind of members to it, so what you see here plus another 3 that are still kind of making the way down towards the water. But I suppose it has been a fairly warm kind of midday period. It's definitely cooled down a lot over the course of the last 20 minutes. The temperature has plummeted, there's a wind that's blowing, the clouds have come through, and so I'm surprised to see the ellies kind of running towards the water, but maybe they just thirsty, maybe they've spent most of the day in the shade and haven't really been towards water, but I'd be surprised by that. There's so much water around and you would have expected them to have found decent water all over the place, and judging by how quickly they've drunk, it indicates that they're not exactly that thirsty. There's a monitor lizard swimming in the water as well. You see it down below here. It almost looks like a little baby crocodile that's swimming, so you'll see it slowly moving through the water over there. Quite a lot of monitor lizards at Twin Dams. They hide in the brush packing that is on the dam walls, where there is a nice place for them to kind of get in under, and it makes it difficult for things like leopards to be able to get to them. We know yesterday Sabi's cub was eating one of these lizards, and so they like places where they can hide a little bit. But our earlies are finished already. They've done drinking. They're starting to move off pretty quickly. So it's just a short stop and drink. Now, we're talking about Sabi's cubs, actually. I've forgotten. They have been named. A lot of you have been asking me about this and have been wondering whether or not they're going to be named and when they're going to be named. So they have been named. And basically, they were named by the camp manager of Little Gari, and the reason for that is that the cubs were born very, very close to that. During the growing up of these cubs, they've spent probably, I would say, about 60 to 70% of their time around that camp, and so it was decided that they would be the ones that would name them. And so the little male has been named Shasha, which is spelled S-H-A-S-H-A, and that is a Shona word for champion or winner. And the little female is named Langa, which is a local word that means sun or sunshine. So there we go. Langa for the female and Shasha for the male, spelled S-H-A-S-H-A, and Langa spelled L-A-N-G-A. So that's the name of Sabi's little ones. For those of you that have been asking, I know a lot of you have been kind of wondering when they were going to be named, because they have reached that age where they are. Generally, leopards, when they get to about a year old, are given an identification name, and so those are the names for them. It would be nice if they all popped out right now, but they're quite far from here. They were found this morning quite a long way from where we are now. Sabi actually was at Tundam's last night, so I doubt that she'll still be around this area. I suspect that she's went and fetched the cubs and marched them sort of southwards back to the core of their territory. Where we are now is the kind of northern point of their area. Ellies are certainly not sticking around, are they? They're in a pretty big rush. What you're noticing, though, as soon as they were done with the water, did you notice how they've now pushed back towards the drainage line? So they're heading towards where they know there's lots and lots of food available. A lot of these plants or trees
Well, a different location that I'm in, and I have two different types of antelope, the beautiful, Defasa waterback and impala. This is a very big harem of impala, and I have to give this guy a lot of respect. These many females is no joke to take care of. It means he deserves them, and to deserve them, he actually had to beat other males and to show off his prowess to be able to take over. Usually, they have to fight. Some very, very vicious fights, sometimes resulting in death. But he survived and he's made it. And you can tell here he is asserting dominance and authority by gathering them together, making sure that they are in check and nobody breaks away. They are being very, very obedient, you can tell. And this, to me, might mean it's the first few days of him taking over, because by then, all the females want him. He is at his best, and they want to mate with him. And while he is doing this, he'll check for females that are coming into season and mate with them. But towards the end, when it becomes weaker, because this is very tiresome, making sure that all girls stay in check, chasing away other, males, and having very little time to eat, at the same time mating sometimes with more than 2, 3, 4, 5 females in a day. It is quite exhausting. He deteriorates very quickly, and his fitness goes down, and so another male coming in might have a chance. Sometimes, very interestingly, another male will appear from a distance, and some females will just run towards him And when they do that, that guy who has been standing at a distance shows this guy that he's also capable, and sometimes he gives up. Tenure is about 10 to 14 days, never lasts more than that, but I think it could. If you know, there were fewer females and he was mating, if they were not coming into season, he might last, but with this many, he doesn't last very long. Let me take you to another live location.
Fantastic. Look what we have just found for you, everybody. It's a beautiful ground agama. And we found it on the ground. Typically, that's where you'd find these specific species is terrestrial based. You do have some that are semi-tree dwelling, but this one is mainly found on the ground. And what it's doing in the tree there, we have just seen it actually actively pursuing prey, which would more than likely be ants at this point in time. It climbed up onto the tree. Obviously, the bark, in conjunction with its nice claws, enabled it to scale surfaces such as this small camel thorn. He also loves trees. Oh, there he goes. Look at that. That is so cool. So looking at the coloration of the animal, we can see that this is definitely a male. Males tend to have a bit more brighter color, especially through the breeding season where testes grow. That produces certain chemicals in the body, and then so coloration is very, very prominent. They also use coloration for territorial disputes in order to successfully mate. Males will also grow bigger than that of females. So with that blue head and that like orange tinged body, we can definitely see that this is a male. And species within the group is about 11 to about 13 different species within this group of agamas. They can range from about 60 centimeters up to about 60 millimeters up to about 160 millimeters. So about 16 centimeters in length. And this chap is about 8 centimeters in length. And you can see the beautiful colors displayed here. It's just remarkable. So it's evident that they see in color. Obviously using color for territorial disputes. If these reptiles weren't able to see in color, the color would be pointless. So showing that their eyesight is able to pick up colors. It's really nice to see a reptile like this. We've been having a lot of luck with reptiles, from the monitor lizards we had fighting and all the snake activity. It shows you that these ectotherms now are really taking full advantage of these hot days. Gamer, how long could they last without water? So reptiles are really well adapted biologically and as well as behaviorally to survive in warm areas. So if water is available, if we have a nice downpour, the little puddles that are created from this shower, they would actively drink from these puddles. If they're close or nearby a pan, they would give it a go. But them being carnivorous, consuming insects, they acquire quite a lot of their water requirements from the consumption of these arthropods. Obviously, arthropods' bodies are designed in such a manner that, it's a confined vessel with everything, held in it. Whereas where this agama, once consuming that insect, acquires enough of the moisture that it needs. And then behavior, if it's too hot, it'll find a bit of shade. It'll seek refuge under rocks or under fallen logs. So, they can go quite an extensive period without water. Some reptiles around the world, have got really long, lengthy spans between finding water. Imagine being in the desert, on the sands where there's hardly any water at all. We're going to send you off and we'll see you shortly.
Here we go again. That cheetah start again move slightly. But the problem now, the impala just turn around and look at her. But they still have no idea she's around. And the way she's standing, she's just pausing for now because one of the impala just turned. If you look there, that one of the impala just turned around and looked direct where she is. But then at the moment she was moving and they were all impala facing away from her. But now she's just paused there because if any movement now, she will be picked up by the impala. Then that will be end of it. So she have to pause like that, so the impala can't really see what she is. Because if you look at the color of the grass over there in the background, you can see that very similar to that cheetah color that make cheetah very camouflage in the area. So it looks like she's wanted to move again, but the impala is still facing direct where she is. But it looks like she can't wait anymore. She wants to go. Look, the cubs behind her. One of the cubs is putting his face right on the ground. And also what they do. Whatever they do, this is a good way of learning how she need to be patient, because without that, they can easily trying so many times without catching anything. Let's just see what's gonna happen, because it looks like she's a bit more interested for now. We'll just sit here and wait.
Well, we are also staying with our Ellies at this stage, but unfortunately not for long. We're on the boundary road, which means that they are going to cross now. But it's just been so nice to be in amongst a herd of Ellies. Often I find sitting with elephants is a really great way of completely immersing yourself in nature and forgetting about everything that is going on around you. You start to kind of just feel far more at ease when you're around these guys, when they're feeding and everybody is relaxed, and you kind of have those noises of the grass breaking and the ears flapping and the tails swishing in the wind. It's a special thing. And like I say, I feel like whenever I have a bad day, these are one of the animals that I always want to spend time with. They're able to lift you out of a bad mood pretty quickly. Or if you're even in a place where you don't feel good about things, they have this ability to lift you out of that pretty fast. Between their antics, particularly of the young ones, and just the fascinating behavior that you often witness with Ellies and how intelligent they can be, find it kind of breaks that very quickly, and you start to feel like you are one of the most fortunate people in the world when you're sitting amongst these guys. Now, some people don't feel that way. Obviously, some people are quite nervous around elephants, and it's always good to have a healthy respect for them. But once you know them and you get to understand behavior and you start to actually spend time with them, they can be an animal that you can learn so many lessons from. And that's why I always try and spend time with them when I can, as much as possible. Obviously, we know I spend a lot of time with leopard, but these guys are always a close second to spend time with. But you can see how they are absolutely loving the new vegetation that's growing at the moment. Those bright green leaves must taste so good after this dry winter. And you can actually see how there are a few little... Is it the white berry bush? I can't actually see nicely. I want to try where the flowers... It looks like little baby white berries that are on there. White berry bush is a tree that we see a lot of in this area. They produce these beautiful little white small berries that taste really nice, and a lot of the animals love it. So I think that's what this Ellie is getting stuck into, a few of the early season ones. Oh, so good to be amongst them. Is that nice, girl? Like I say, imagine how good it must taste after the dry winter they've had. So this is one of the younger ones. There's one in this herd that I think is already gone over the road, but it's very cheeky. It's kind of been flapping its ears at us and having a lot to say. It could be this individual. It's one that's got like a slightly folded ear. Yes. No, not this one, sorry. It's another one. The left ear is kind of folds forward a little bit. That one is very naughty. It's got a lot of attitude and it's kind of come up to the car and shaken its head and, been just playful as young Ellies can be. I don't know if you can actually hear the grass spring broken. It's quite cool to hear. So, Bridget, thorny branches are an interesting one. Generally, there's a couple things with elephants. Firstly, they've got incredibly thick skin on their trunk, which means that they can break thorn trees off pretty easily without really hurting themselves. They also have massive teeth and a very, very hard palate that can break down thorns without it hurting too much. That thickened skin within the palate and those big grinding teeth mean that the nerve endings are pretty far away, and it means that if they do get poked a little bit, it's actually not painful. The other thing is that they often do, though, which counteracts thorns, is they'll take a branch and they'll run their trunk along the branch, and what that does is it actually folds the thorns up against the branch. They then break the branch and they feed it the opposite direction, and so it means that you've got these kind of flattened thorns, and when they feed it from where the thorn is kind of folded at the branch where it joins, and so the spiky tip is actually being fed the opposite direction, and it doesn't hurt them, and the teeth grind those thorns down before it actually spikes their mouth, which is absolutely fascinating. But I mean, you can't ask for a more intimate view of Ellie's than this. Now, she's had all the space in the world to go anywhere, and so it's okay for us to sit where we are now because she's made the decision to come closer to us. Also, can you see that she's right-tusked or right-bodied? Look at her trunk. Do you see all the green on her trunk there? So that gives you an indication of which side of the trunk she uses more, is that side that's lined with that green from all the vegetation that she's been breaking. How cool is that? What an absolutely special moment. Can't help but just kind of feel in awe when you have an Ellie kind of pass you by like that. Very, very, very cool. And they're wandering off now deeper into Little Gari, unfortunately for us. They're not on our side, so we're going to have to say goodbye to them, I would imagine. They're not going to be able to stick around for too much. We can find, I'm going to try to see if I can find any signs of Tundi and the little one. We're going to probably head towards Torchwood. We'll also have a little keen lookout in case Sabui might be here somewhere as well.
Good luck with the leopard search. They also might start to be getting awake and moving around now. So we've come to the same place where the rest of the Birmingham Pride was left this morning, and they are, or 8 of them are still here, and one of the Ross males on the right-hand side, which you'll see shortly. But what's got our attention here, now there's the male, still head down, they're all facing into the wind, and you'll see if they do start to get up, they'll pop their heads up, try and see if the wind is carrying any sort of form of sense. They'll very likely walk and get up and walk towards the wind, or into the wind rather. But what's got our attention here, this young lioness with beautiful lighting on her face. Sorry about the stick, unfortunately there's not much I can do about it. But how's the lighting? You see her pink nose, very interested in us. But something else that she's interested in, now Odie's going to zoom out shortly, is that tortoise. There's a leopard tortoise there. Can you see it over there? He is in fact upside down, and it is very much alive. This lioness was playing with it, and you'll see she'll put it in between her front paws, roll it around. Now she's put it into a bit of a difficult situation with the tortoise being on its back. I'm sure it'll be able to right itself. And it's quite interesting. You don't often get to see live tortoises upside down quite like that. And Odie, if you actually want to zoom in on that tortoise, I just want to, because we don't get out and pick these things up. We don't try not to be pair or interact with them at all. You see that concave or that indent in the shell? That is a male tortoise, and that is because it allows that male to actually climb on top of the female when mating, and will actually almost like snuggle in on top of her shell. You don't often get to see live ones upside down right there. Very, very interesting. I'm sure it provided some form of entertainment to this lioness that's just behind it. She's the only one that's not facing into the wind, and I'm sure it's because of this tortoise. Let's see, there's a big yawn that's coming here. I wonder if the rest of the pride aren't going to start yawning, and those are really good signs for them to get up and move around. There's also fantastic open areas, great for hunting just up ahead.
It's that wake-up time for the lions, and also our hippo here, who's just come out of the water to graze. Now this hippo looks like he's been a loner for a long while, because he's isolated himself in a small pond that is not far from here. So by the look of it, he was ousted out from the river by a big male that kicked him out. That is typical for hippos. After they lose the battle, they can't find a place where they can control. They'll walk a long distance away to find mud puddle, water puddle, where they'll stay. So he's out grazing. So depending on the availability of food or grass, they can walk a long distance or a short distance. If food is present, they can do a short distance for about 5 kilometers, 6 kilometers, depending. And sometimes when the food is scarce, they can even walk to about 20 kilometers or even 30 kilometers round trip. They prefer eating or grazing at the cooler time of the night, because it's not hot, there's no heat, because sometimes the heat or the sun during the day bothers them. That's why they always in the water during the day. And way over in the background, I can see a big line of wildebeest. Seems like they're heading. Thank you so much for your question. The hippo skin is soft, or if you get to touch it, it's a little bit soft, not as rough as compared to other pachyderms, but it's slightly soft. Feels like he's grazing, walking fast. As they're walking like that, they always use their strong lips to cut off grass. And then the tip of their lips, they're able to chew that grass. Look at how he's grazing. A fast-moving natural lawnmower. Oh, seems like he's a hungry hippo. He's not even pausing for rest, just carrying on grazing and grazing. Now he'll walk like that, grazing, and then do the same grazing back and go back to its pond in the morning. Seems like our hippo is walking fast, grazing in the opposite direction, so I'm going to leave him as I go or carry on to find something else, as I take you over to another live location.
A hungry hippo. Well, our elephants are also on a mission. They're pushing and shoving one another on top of Ndlovu Dam right outside the eco-training camp, as the elephants are particularly fond of doing. Two young boys, though. Hello. They've been hanging around for quite some time. It's sad though, we haven't been seeing the same elephant bulls lingering around camp as they used to. Of course, we knew that it was inevitable. It was always going to happen as soon as the heavens opened and the rain was upon us, that the animals would start to disperse. So we're starting to see lots of elephants that I haven't seen before. But of course, this is all normal. This is what elephants normally like to do. But you can see they have got their feet nice and wet. So they didn't go for a swim. It's a bit chilly and a bit windy. So no swimming necessary this afternoon. Just a couple of trunkfuls of water, a bit of pushing and shoving. And I suspect that they'll go back to feeding now. Although that elephant is investigating something. You can see he's just blown up a whole bit of dust. Maybe a rock. What else are you going to do? Very busy there. There must be a scent on the ground that it's quite interested in. I think that is a rock. It's hard to tell, but you can see it's like something white that it sort of keeps touching. Yeah, it does look like a rock, or maybe even a little stump from one of the trees. I suppose when they've got such a keen sense of smell, they can't help themselves. But the other elephant now is making his way. Oh, and he's got quite a bit of swagger in his step. And yes, this fella doing a spin on the spot, head all raised, and of course it's back to pushing and shoving time. I think this is good practice up here on this narrow wall. Oh no, his fella on the left is going to go back down to the water again. Easy does it. That's really steep. It actually doesn't... We can't do you much justice to show you how steep it is, but look how this elephant is struggling, trying to put all its weight in the back of its legs. Oh, now using its head to help stabilize itself. And the other fella, oh no, you haven't got a tree to put your head on. That's going to be quite difficult. I love the way that they do little slide though. Look at that. Quite able, and a bit of a splash straight down into the water. Back for another drink. I think they must have got distracted with one another. They didn't arrive here together. They arrived separately, and then, of course, greeted one another and decided that they could be friends. So the drinking part that normally it happens at the watering hole was put on hold. But back to it. But it was very warm this morning, even though it was quite windy. Obviously, we weren't at 39 degrees Celsius like we were yesterday. We were about 10 degrees cooler, which is refreshing. Now, probably elephants need to drink lots and lots of water every single day, but on a day like today when it's so much cooler, you'll find that they don't drink as much. But the book suggests that it's anywhere between 100 and 120 litres, even up to 150 litres of water a day. So they'll consume it not necessarily all at once, where elephants in this area are quite privileged because there is so much water around. You know, they can drink a bit here and then they can go on and browse and graze for a bit and then drink at another puddle somewhere else. But I always say, you know, it's tough for the animals. For example, in Namibia, where they might have, say, in Etosha, where they've just got these natural springs and they're so far apart. Then they'll spend hours and hours at one watering hole getting everything that they can. But the elephant on the left was actually splashing around quite a bit. You can see he's drinking a fair amount now. But he was moving his trunk quite vigorously through the water at one point, splashing about all sorts of games. To be fair, I can't help myself either. It's like when you sit with your feet at the edge of the pool, you don't just keep them still. You obviously start kicking them around and splashing. Doesn't matter how old you get, you'll do that. Hopefully you're all nodding. And I think they're happy now that they can keep their feet nice and cool and then graze and browse right there. There's lots and lots of vegetation starting to pop up around the dam, especially all the nice new green grass. Not that they're eating any of it. I'm going for all the shrubs and the bushes, as James Henry would say. I mean, could he choose a more awkward space to feed? You'd swear that look at the guy on the left. He's very funny. Mac and Weezer, I mean, I said that I didn't think they were going to go swimming, but this elephant might have heard me, and animals absolutely love to prove guides wrong, and that's fine. I actually don't mind resting one leg up, but he's now quite deep into the water. Let's see. Maybe a little tusk to the bottom, a bit of a nudge. He seems to be in a bit of a playful spirit right now. You know, elephants are always happiest when they're in the water. They have a lot of fun, and I think it brings out that childlike spirit in them. Of course, I'm anthropomorphizing heavily right now. I bet there's some safari guides shaking their heads, but, you know. He doesn't like his friend coming so close. What are you going to do? You can see he's smelling him. Come on, go on in. There's a few people that are desperate for you to jump in. Something's definitely caught this elephant's attention. You saw that how he raised his head. I thought that maybe he was going to tusk the other elephant, but then he put his trunk up, and had a bit of a sniff. And I did hear some alarm calls not too long ago. Egyptian goose just flew straight across the screen. And young Lagatha, the lone lioness of Pridelands. We didn't see her, but we did have her footprints just on the northern side of this dam this morning, sort of moving around in this area. And we know that she likes it so much. So it wouldn't be a surprise if in a moment we see two tawny ears poking up over the dam wall. It wouldn't be the first time that she's done that for us. So fingers crossed, everybody, because that would be the excitement that Sebastian and I need this afternoon. Peter, yeah, they do use their trunks to breathe, of course, but I definitely think they can also breathe through their mouths. If you think about it, they must be able to. But that's a fantastic snorkel. So if you ever go up into Botswana, into like the Chobe, or if you go into Zimbabwe or Zambia, and you get the massive rivers, the Zambezi River, where the elephants are constantly in the water and often have to cross very, very deep channels where, you know, their feet can't quite touch the bottom. Sure, that trunk comes in handy, hey? Without it, they'd be in big trouble. They aren't able to lift their heads all the way up. So then those trunks act like a bit of a snorkel. See, that one now has also picked up on something. They've got an incredible sense of smell. Something must be up, so I'm going to keep turning and shuffling around. So apologies if you hear my jacket making a strange noise or some crackling here and there. I mean, they have more of an idea of what's going on in the bushveld than I will ever. I can't smell anything. Can you smell a lion or a leopard, Seb?
Okay.
Trying our best, but, you know, we can't pick it up just yet. Although, you don't need to be too far away from a damp, wet lion to smell it. They don't smell particularly pleasant. Who knows? Maybe we'll get a surprise and some wild dogs will come on. Come on in. They tend to frequent Ndlovu Dam too. I like that they've now got their bottoms touching one another, back to back. You're halfway there. Just go in a little bit deeper. Yes, good elephant. Oh, he's found a stick. Didn't like that very much. Now, if I were to try and wade through that water, I would stab myself several times with all the vegetation that is on the bottom. That elephant is not approving of that log and very gracefully moving it out of the way. Yesterday, we also had we actually had a very small breeding herd of elephants. I hadn't seen them before come down and drink, and there was one bull that decided he was going to have a pool party all by himself, and he picked up the biggest stick. It looked like a pool noodle and splashed it around for quite some time. It was very comical. We thoroughly enjoyed watching it. But maybe we'll have the same thing today, seeing as though one elephant happens to be finding all of the logs. Oh no, look what's going to happen, Seb, on the left. Right, this is my favorite game. Rate the splash, everybody. Will you give us one more that we can see, please? Oops. And then they drink that water. It's my favorite. I know it sounds really... No, don't. Why would you do that now to the elephant on the right-hand side? That's disgusting. I mean, guys, it is obviously all just vegetation, so it's not that gross. But, it always just amazes me how they're quite happy to defecate and urinate, and then I don't think they necessarily enjoy drinking that part of the water. Elephants are very picky drinkers. They're quite particular about drinking the smooth stuff, which is why you'll see them blowing bubbles and slapping their trunks along the surface, or maybe not slapping them, but gently moving them in the water to try and sift out all of the dirt and hope that it sinks to the bottom. Off they go. See, now they can walk around that big stick. I'm sure some of you remember when it was quite difficult for the elephants to navigate, and it provided much entertainment when they had to clamber over all of those logs. You really got a chance to see how flexible elephants really were. Oh, goodness gracious, what did you eat? You really been getting all your 19 hours in then? Well, there we go. So for anyone that wanted to watch the elephant swim, I can hear all the moms saying it's too cold and windy, you can't go swimming. But of course, these two young adolescents, they've got nobody to tell them anything different. So they'll just do what they want. And of course, their immunities are far superior to ours, especially when you're drinking water that is contaminated, as we've just witnessed. Oh, thank you, elephant, for turning right at the leadwood, hey, Sebastian? Seb was getting ready to go out wide because the tree is obviously in the way. And then, of course, that elephant very kindly, no, never did. I bet any of you ever thought that a tree could conceal an elephant like that. I mean, of course, it happens all the time. Luckily, they're floating now. Yes, push him further to the left, please, so we don't have to reposition the vehicle. And they can't help themselves either. One's in the pool, and then they have to jump on top of one another. I wonder if they ever say, like, hey, I'm about to drown. Can you get off of me, please? Because it's come close a few times where elephants have come up and they haven't been able to stick their trunks out of the water, and the sheer desperate, like, look. And I swear, if an elephant could gasp for air, that's what it looked like they were doing. But I don't know if these boys are going to really rough it. He's just completely laid down. Must be so refreshing to have the water source topped up like this. He's got something stuck behind his ear. Can you see that, Seb? No, come away from behind the tree, elephants. Play on either the left-hand side or the right-hand side of the tree. There's something on that elephant's right ear. We'll try and have a look now when he flips it open after he's finished doing a belly flop. You know what I'm going to have to do, Sebastian? I'm going to have to bring my giant unicorn Lilo and float in here. I'm joking. I'm not going to do that. That's highly unethical. Also, I think the elephants would not be impressed with us after we've seen them slap their trunks on the surface of the water chasing Egyptian geese away. I do not think that they would appreciate a rather large flotation device. Julia, I think everybody enjoys watching elephants swimming. It kind of makes you feel so happy. It's just a pity that the wind is so strong today. So I don't really think we're going to get some great ambience of them splashing about. But that's all right. Luckily, they've been ample. There've been plenty. I can't even speak anymore. Pool parties here at Ndlovu Dam. You can see the floating poo now. Am I allowed to say that? Dung? Oh, I've said it anyways. Off it goes. Ooh, you've got his eyes so wide open now that you can see the whites of it. Just having a good time. And then also, it's great. Obviously, elephant bulls at this age, they can be quite boisterous, but they tolerate one another. And when they're in the water like this, they just play so gracefully. And maybe sometimes not so gently, but these boys are being quite gentle for the moment. You know what it's like. It always starts off like this and then it ends in tears. But I'm sure the water must be quite warm. And then, of course, you've got to try and jump on the other one's back. Perhaps he's trying to make his way to the top of his shoulders so that he can jump and do a backflip. I know that I used to do that. I know that I would still try and do that to anybody that would dare have my weight on their shoulders. Yeah, I don't think you'll be able to hear the clashing of the tusks, I'm afraid. Fingers crossed. We're crossing lots of fingers today that the wind starts to die down so that we can have the hot weather and hopefully watch many more pool parties.
Yo, sorry, my apologies. So from the big to the small, a beautiful little tree skink enjoying the last rays of sunlight. But what a beautiful sight it is.
So typical of skink, you can see it's the majority of the family is similar in shape. You can see it almost looks like a snake with legs. And some of them are very specialized into sandy environments where they've actually lost all limbs, or some of them actually have remnants of limbs still on them. But this one obviously being a tree skink, the limbs are obviously very important for this animal to move through its arboreal or tree habitat. It was just so beautiful that we thought we had to show everybody. It's typically where they would feed as well, eating a wide range of insects, flies, termites, ants, a few food items that the little reptile will take. Oh, sure, it's beautiful. This one being a tree dwelling, we got some species on Tswalu that also enjoy the rocky habitats of the Coronaburg range. And obviously they are modified and adapted to be within those habitats. Nice long tail it's got there. That tail can also be lost. Autonomy, so if it had a close call with a predator, it is actually able to lose or shed that tail, where the tail will regenerate over time. This also depends on the season. Obviously in summer it would grow back a bit quicker, and then also very importantly on the resources that the animal then could obtain to regenerate that tail. But an amazing adaptation to evade predation by losing one's tail. He's watching a little ant. So they need to be very careful because a lot of things will eat them, from pygmy falcons, other reptiles, other birds like the common thistle that we have looked at, would easily snack on this little guy. So his alertness is one way in which he stays alive. And then also the coloration blends in quite well. Renee, salamanders occur in the northern hemisphere. We don't have any salamanders in South Africa, and salamanders are part of the amphibian group. So where this is a reptile, so those clades or classes or family groups are different. Salamanders closely related to things like frogs, toads, and where this guy would be related to lizards, agama, and then as well as snakes. So two different family groups at that. But it does somewhat superficially resemble that of a salamander. Really amazing creatures as well. So he will absorb and take in that last little bit of sunlight that we have, and then he'll find a little spot here in between the bark or near the tops of the trees where he's nicely concealed, and that's where he'll spend the night until the break of dawn. So the reptiles continue from the gama we had a couple of minutes ago and all the snakes. It's definitely the period for these animals.
Beautiful, well blessed with this pride of lines right here. Now we have a longer drive, and then somebody just called in that there's a pride of line, which is very nice to meet them again. The Talamate bride, the whole 14 of them around here, they're all just lying down. And to me, it doesn't look like they have eaten anything yet. You can see they're all over, trying to groom themselves. These are one of the youngest as well in this pride. And they have about 9 of a young one. 2 are young males and the rest are the females in this young one. So they might actually be able to get to move soon. And the day has been very cool for them. And they all see their heads up and that's quite a way of promising when they're about to get to move, and they're all going to yawn, and then they're all going to stood up. One is going to move into another one, and then it's going to be the sign of that they're going to move. As we're saying, there's a yawning happening. So for such a pride, no, we haven't seen them for a while actually, and this is when they disappear back to the north, probably into Manyaleti, because now we have to come into this area of Beverlysoek, actually just northeast of Beverlysoek Dam, not far from the boundary. Hopefully they cross into Djuma tonight, you never know. And what drive him down here is because last night the wind started quite early, just before 7 o'clock. There was a very strong wind picked up there. And all we say between the guys is like, the cats will be happy, of course. We finally had the lions. I mean, this morning I think they've been seen during the day in this area. We didn't actually have a luck of finding them, because nobody actually aware of lions came into this area. And they don't have a male right now. They're also still dominated by the Avoca males, which it happens when they're on their businesses. And this is what they do. They leave the females and then operate on themselves, trying to hold their boundary territorial by scent marking chemicals. And this is what they would be doing right now wherever they are. So I'm going to stay here while we take you to another guide who will be continue to show you the beauty of the wild somewhere else, different location.
Here we are again. Look at the cheetahs right there. It's quite difficult to look at now, but if you look carefully, you can see some small movement in there. They still are just sitting there, facing where the impala is. But look, there's one of the cubs keep on coming closer and closer to his mom. He just wanted to check, well, Mom, how are you going to do it now? Currently we're losing a bit of light, but luckily we still have seen those animals, which is good. I hope she's going to do something. Look the way she's looking now. And the impala where they are, actually they're facing, looks like they're facing away from the cheetah. But she's kind of getting interest and then lost it every now and again, because she can't really come out there, because where she is, quite nice tall grass and very good camouflage, as you can see. And if she moves about 20 meters away from where she is, she'll be more in the open. Then she needs that when she's ready to go. But for now, I'll say she's just sitting here waiting for her lucky. Problem is still that Sam Wallaby is still around this, around next to these impalas. But we hope to see them all moving across there. And we'll just still sit here and wait. Hopefully something will happen.
Yes, it is a dark where I am over here, and we are on infrared, and what you see there is Topi. Topi is one of our large antelopes, and I've come across this beautiful herd. I don't know if they are rutting, which means they are breeding. Usually they form a big circle, and usually you find the most attractive and strongest male in the middle. But over here, they don't look like they're doing that. They're just milling around. Topis do migrate. They are a resident of the Mara, Serengeti, and some other parks in East Africa. This is the only place you find them, all the way to Uganda. That's where you find them. They're not found anywhere else. It's an animal that can weigh up to 150 kilos. And in our plains, it is one of the most fastest. So you rarely get to find it being eaten. Very good eyesight, very good sense of smell, hearing, top speeds of up to 70 kilometers an hour, and with endurance, makes it one of the most, successful antelope in these plains. But, we don't see very many of them. Well, it's a nice scene, quite a distance. Well, I'm going to move on. Let's find out what else we can show you.
Oh, another big Cape Cobra. Oh, my word. Nice uniform colour with lots of dark speckling on it. We just had a lot of scaly feathered weavers mobbing it. And what a beautiful sight with that setting sun, the snake illuminated by that setting sun, as well as the bird's wings fluttering down to mob it. Obviously, birds in a defense method would swoop down and come quite close to the snake, actually sometimes hitting the snake with their talons, with their feet, and also obviously just that aggressive nature would be a way to deter or veer off this very aggressive snake. Wow, look at that. So when we had the two cobras a couple of days ago, it's the same coloration. I would put my money on it that it more than likely is the same snake that we saw following that yellow morph the other day. And we had confirmation that that speckled one, the second one in that scene that we had, was in fact a male. Wow, look at that. I'm going to start producing my snake song. Get out my little flute to maybe get it a bit closer to us. It's just behind that bush now for us. Cenac, what birds would a Cape Cobra feed on? So, yeah, to catch a bird, you need to be very quick. Birds, obviously, with their ability to fly, and they've got, quite a lot of agility. You need to be a very fast-striking snake in order to catch a bird from flight. These cobras would catch sociable weavers when they are nesting, or when they're actively breeding, That's when these weavers come close enough that just with a general strike, these snakes could latch on to a social weaver. But these finches, if they got too close, scaly feathered weavers as they're now known as, if they get too close, that snake is able to snatch one out there. Unexpected birds, birds when they're resting or sleeping, that's also when they would go for it. And I would go for about, you're looking at canary size. Let's go in those parameters. About canary size is where the size that the snake would be going after in terms of prey. Have you still got it there? Oh, there it is there. It's on the left there. Wow. So Dave gets us nice and close so you can see the mottled coloration of this wonderful reptile. There we go, look at that. So once again, quite active, tongue being flicked in and out the mouth at a very rapid rate. So possibly looking for a female, just like we witnessed the other day. And we might be blessed with a very good view. Look there, perfect. You can see the mottling of this gorgeous reptile. Nice, David. Lisp, how fast can a Cape Cobra slither? So it's not your fastest moving snake. Your fastest moving snake in South Africa would be a black mamba. and that animal can move at about between 18 and 22 kilometers an hour. This Cape Cobra would put anywhere between 10 and about 15 kilometers an hour, and that's at full tilt, where the body, basically just two parts of the body is touching the ground, and where, you get this typical snake-like motion. So, good possibility it could outrun me. I'm not the fastest runner, but I've got a mean sidestep. But yeah, actively searching for prey, and it would chase down prey. So once prey has been bitten, it's got a very fast neurotoxic venom, obviously possessed by these front fixed fang snakes. But it would actively pursue like a rodent or a small bird. It's a very quick toxin, a very quick acting neurotoxin that this snake holds or possesses. Look at that. Oh yes, it's coming right for us. Good thing we know where this one is, not like the dark morph that we had sneaking up on us when we were at the dam. Wonderful. Still got it there. Okay. So these snakes, like I've mentioned, do eat other snakes, even other Cape Cobras. They do hunt snakes. So if it had to come across another snake, it would easily snack on it, but it does look like it's following the scent. You can see its behavior. It's direct, it's moving. That tongue has been flicked out of the mouth very quick. And you can see it's on a mission. So it's got like a dark dorsal section, and then the bottom half, the ventral side, is almost like a pale yellow color. Sure, I can't believe how lucky we've been getting. Yoshua, do they have night vision? Do reptiles have night vision? No. Some snakes, like your pythons, have heat-sensing pits, which are situated in the front of the mouth, which can pick up, the heat radiating off mammals. But night vision, no. I wouldn't see a reptile having night vision. It's not really a tool that would be used by reptiles. But those heat-sensitive pits found in pythons are very efficient tools in which they use to find and locate prey. Should we move the car quickly, but Dave? Okay, folks, we're going to move the car just very quickly. Hold on with us. Just while we are on the subject of moving the car, we've got a beautiful landscape. We want to introduce you to somebody quite amazing, another professional guide here on Tswalu Kalahari, and that will be joining you in the upcoming days, Obi King. Yes, hello guys. All right, let's move this car back quickly, and let's see if we can see this snake. And what we're going to look for is the shininess of the scales. Yes, inside the bush. You can see the scales shining. Obviously a very nice tool. Can you see the shiny there? Yeah, it's coming right for us. Oh my word. So Obi King will be continuing this journey with us and sharing his knowledge with all of you folks. Very experienced guide and very passionate about the Kalahari. It's just stopped there now. But with a beautiful setting sun, I mean, if you look at the view, the backdrop, look at that. Once again, another perfect afternoon. Okay, it's starting to move. Okay, it'll be on the left-hand side there, Dave. See, it kind of just slowed down now, so I wonder if it's getting close to something. We're going to send you off to another incredible location, and we will be here when you guys get back.
Okay, so while sitting with those lions, 2 wild dogs just ran past. A hyena kind of brought our attention towards them. They've just crossed the little riverbed now, so I'm trying to do a little loop around, trying to do it very quickly as well. They seem to, there's a couple of impalas up ahead running around. I'm sure we only saw 2 of the wild dogs. So let's keep going. I'm going to try and loop around. There's a very good chance that in the loop around we might bump into some more. And they were running very quickly. So we're in the middle of a hunt, which is very exciting. The tricky thing with wild dogs is they move very quickly. And if you manage to keep up with them, you will see something very exciting. But because they move very quickly and don't really take a regard for where they're going or consideration for the vehicles getting there, it can be quite tricky. As you can see, I come across a big riverbed that I can't cross. So just bear with me for a couple of minutes and don't go anywhere, because things could get a bit exciting if we manage to catch up and find them again. Oh no. I'm really hoping to see if we don't bump into the rest of the pack, because it's unlikely that there's just 2 of them. Hey, I've just got to try and find a place to cross here. Hey? Yeah, but I'm actually quite far from that road. Okay, so we're going to do our best to loop around to the other side. Fingers crossed, don't go anywhere. If we manage to find them, you might be in for an absolute treat.
That is very exciting stuff. Sorry, I've just dropped my lip ice down on the floor, and that's my most important piece of equipment that I take on safari. Anyways, the elephants have finally gotten out of the pool. Thank goodness, because it's freezing now. Sebastian and I have been talking about how cold it is, and now they're clambering and jungle gymming over this entanglement of trees. Why would you need to stand right in the middle like that? Oh, okay, to have a scratch. I mean, he's now wedged himself in. If a lion were to show up, he's going to have a big problem, because he's not going to be able to escape there very easily. Perhaps he's training for one of those warrior races, like the ones they do here in Hoedspruit, hey? Don't you have to, like, go up and over logs and go through the mud and all sorts of things? Under wires, says Sebastian. Perhaps that's what's happening here. Surely there will be one. Oh, no, maybe there won't be one coming up soon. Anyway, that elephant is now also joining in. What are you looking for? What are we eating this evening? I am ravenous. I can smell something delicious from camp. I don't know what it is, because we're obviously right at camp. A bit of a foot scratch. No. The other things that Sebastian and I were talking about is that these elephants could be models for a toothpaste ad, don't you think, hey Seb? With their pearly whites that they now have. Look at that. Sure. No filter needed, let me tell you. It's just a bath in dirty brown water that will whiten up your tusks. It's crazy, because of course we know that these are modified incisors. Well, if you didn't know, you know. Very cool stuff, though. I don't know what they're going for. I don't know if it's like a specific grass or they're going for a little plant. It looks like they're going for a plant. There's lots of little cedar plants flowering now, so we will start to see lovely yellow flowers coming about. Maybe that's what plant they're feeding on. Oh my goodness, those tusks are so white. I might even have to put my sunglasses on at some point. It's getting a bit much. Oh, I didn't like something there. Just tossed it straight out of the way. And we've got the king of the jungle, Jims. Also climbing over all sorts of things now. No, he's going for grass. I'm just listening. Sorry, I thought I heard more impala alarming. Just when you left us a little while back, there was some impala that started snorting. So we went to investigate, couldn't find the impala. Not shocked, though. The bushes got so thick. But I think that something is going to appear at this dam. Maybe not now, but definitely a little bit later. Goodness gracious, that was a great show of how strong an elephant is, as he just tossed that branch out of the way. I definitely would not have been able to have done that as well. And I believe all of you are asking about Susan. Well, if you don't know who Susan is, that's unfortunate. Susan is an elephant, and she is the feistiest of feisty, sassy elephants that you'll ever come across in your entire life. She's a youngster. She's like a teenager. I don't know where she is. I don't know where her herd is. They haven't been around. Like I was saying earlier, everyone has dispersed and moved on and out of the area, but perhaps they will be back. I really hope that they'll be back. I miss the 3 breeding herds that we used to see all the time. But anyways, I suppose it'll be more exciting when I see them back. I have seen her in the last 2 weeks, though, on 3 different occasions. She was just hanging out where we couldn't show you, I'm afraid. Now she's gone again. But I'll keep looking out for her. Finding Susan. It's going to give Finding Nemo a run for its money. Guide monkey, that is also a fantastic question. We've had some real crackers this afternoon. You've asked, how does an elephant get the water out of its ears? I don't know, because I still haven't learned how to communicate with an elephant, but I'm trying hard. I would imagine they'd shake it. Do you think they get a lot of water going in their ears? Or do you think like it sort of naturally blocks, like, you know, when we go underwater, I don't know what happens, something happens, pressure builds and the water doesn't always go inside. I have yet to see an elephant hopping from side to side, though, trying to get the water out as we as humans do, or at least that's how you take the water out of your ears, Seb. Like that as well. Are there other ways to do it? There must be. Let us know. How do you get the water out of your ears? Do you do the, the shuffle from one foot to the other and sway your head side to side? #WildEarth. Let us know. I'm very interested now if there are more ways. Is there an easier, more effective way? Because I feel like I just look like a buffoon when I do things like that. But that is a wonderful question, and it's something that I have never thought of before, and that's what I love about these live safaris is great questions that you all send in.
Cool, so we've managed to find the rest of the pack. It seems they've killed something as well. So just bear with us while I try and get into the best. There's one there. It's eating something as well. Just hold on. Watch your head, Odie. Look right up ahead there. Can you see? There's one here. Cool, how amazing is that? A little bit of a goose chase. The vultures have already seen this coming through. Have a look at them running around. I'm just waiting to see what it was that they actually caught. See if they don't come back up here. There's one that's busy munching on something just behind us. So, like expected, we only saw 2 of them, but there's a whole lot of them here. And they're going to eat as quickly as they possibly can. And the reason for that is, as hyenas that brought our attention to them initially will be in here like a flash. Now, wild dogs aren't designed quite like a hyena. They're quite small, fragile little animals. and they're going to try and avoid every contact or conflict that they get into. Let's see if I can get into the best position here for us to see. This one's busy taking a piece of meat. Very tricky to see exactly what it is. Look at these ones right next to us, coming here to... Oh, there it goes. They're actually running all around the vehicle. Trotting off, trotting away. Amazing how quickly this all happens. See, there's not even much left of this. They'll finish it particularly in a big pack like this. I mean, I've seen at least 10 of them running around. They'll finish something in 5 to 10 minutes. They'll rely on one another to almost rip it apart before the hyenas get in here. This one seems to have ripped a little piece, taken it by himself so that he can eat it. I can hear another one crunch. And you'll see, I mean, it is getting dark now. But wild dogs are predominantly diurnal or daytime animals. And one of the advantages of doing so, being so small and quite delicate actually, they avoid the attention of the nocturnal predators like lions and hyenas. But hyenas, particularly in this area, listen, there's another wild dog that's calling in the distance. So do you see this one just poke its head up? The rest of the pack is just up. I wonder if they haven't killed something else. Let's go and see if we can... This one's just picked up that big piece of meat. Let's go see if we can find what else. Here's a hyena coming on our right-hand side. You see, they follow these wild dogs like a shadow. They know that they are the most successful predators out here. You see that tail up, lots of excitement. But I'm sure those hyenas are going to follow us because we're going to keep following the wild dogs. And do you see the way that wild dog that was right in front of us poked its ears up, heard the other one calling, and ran off? That's always a good sign. They've got this high-pitched, like, whoop, whoop, whoop call that we heard that they did too. Oh, hyena in front of us. So let's see if we can manage to find this other one that was calling the rest of the pack. Maybe it'll give us a good idea as to how many they are. I'm sure if there's another kill as well, which is very likely, that the hyenas will also try and get involved. But stick with us.
All right, just hold tight with us, folks. We've got the snake very close to the vehicle. Just going to try and move a little bit forward, just so that we can get a great view of it. Okay, there we go. It's fine. There we go. Look at that. Forward. Okay, just turn the vehicle first. Sorry, folks. My apologies. It's going to turn the vehicle ever so slightly for us so we can get a better view. Good, right. Okay. Cool. Fantastic. Look at that. So you can see even by starting the vehicle that this snake is really not bothered. It is physically following the scent more than likely from a female that's laid a pheromone trail down that has been going non-stop. Sasha, how long can a Cape Cobra live for? That's a really good question, Sasha. If I had to trust my tummy, I would say about 10, 15 years a Cape Cobra would be able to live for. They're fairly large snakes, and with that body size, obviously being able to live a bit longer, but really nice. And Sasha, really good question. I would say between 10 and 15 odd years, maybe give or take a little bit longer. And then it also depend on where the snake is. If it's in an area where they would experience a lot of predators, that would be a bit shorter. But general, I'd say between 10 and 15 years on a snake like this. But What a sight. It's coming out. Oh, it's out. There it is. On the left-hand side there by the bushes, by the greenery. Really nice question, Sasha. Thank you very much for that. Those are questions that just make me tingle inside. Wow. Wow, David doing an absolutely phenomenal job keeping up with it. And look at the tongue, folks. That is showing us that it's on the trail of something. So, like we've spoken about, it is mating season currently for these snakes. And this is now more than likely it's following a trail that's left behind. Almost like a trail of breadcrumbs for this male to find the lovely lady. And then hopefully in the next couple of months we'll have new little Cape Cobras running around. And what a different colour scheme, eh? Unbelievable. So we're really having a reptile drive on this side, from the Gama to the skink to this gorgeous Cape Cobra. Yo, wow. So I'm not an expert, but looking at the tail, and like I've heard before, it's fairly hard to judge within Cape Cobras. I think that this is a male. Just by the little bulbous section towards the end part of the tail where obviously the reproductive organs will be housed. Oh my word. So hasn't looked at the vehicle, hasn't seen us. We spoke about their eyesight. Obviously they're not able to recognize stationary prey. So only 2 snakes in South Africa that are able to do that. It's the vine snake and the boomslang. The tree snake, translated from Afrikaans, boomslang. This snake has got something else on its mind. Oh, it's coming this way. Obviously, we don't want to disturb animals. Watching behavior like this where we're not altering it is a very important thing. For me as a guide, it is by far the most important thing. If we weren't here, this is what this snake would be doing right now. Wow. You can just hear the ventral scale slithering over the dry grass as the body twists and turns to push the snake forward. So you'll see that one part actually bends, and that's how the snake is able to project itself forward. Fantastic. What an amazing way to end off the afternoon. And thanks to everybody else across the continent, all our other colleagues, and from us, it's been wonderful. Thank you for the questions and the comments. And like I say, cheers, OV. And like I said, most importantly, it's the time, the most precious thing that we have as human beings. Thank you for spending the time with us. FC, and then Tswalu. It's been great. What an amazing, amazing afternoon we've had. So be sure to join us tomorrow for the sunrise. And from now on till then, have a good one. Cheers.